Well, there goes the Daverhood. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. And we are indeed live on this Saturday morning, July 16th, 2022, here for the 858th episode of the Dave's Gone By Facebookio Podcastio Programmio of the stream, featuring me, Dave Lefkowitz, my beautiful potatoes. My darling wife is actually going to visit her folks, so it's just going to be us. Well, not just going to be us today. We got 3 hours to kill. I'm not doing that all by myself. We have a guest. We have wonderful people to play our weekly trivia quiz. We got you hopefully chiming in with stuff. But yeah, I'm missing my missus this morning because she just went off in an Uber to say hi to her mom and dad. So yay. But I get to do my usual Dave's Gone By. Look at all this fancy paperwork on parchment, on deer skin. I actually commissioned Rabbi Saul Solomon, who will be with us later in the program, to etch out the running order of this week's program on deer skin. And obviously this doesn't look like the skin of any buck or doe because we bleached it. I actually went with a little bitty brush and put white out over everything. So the pages would look like Hammermill Bond copy 20-pound white. But no, you can still smell the dead animal right on here. Anyway, it's Dave's Gone By. So let me tell you a bit about the show. Let me tell you a bit about my week, tell you where things are, what's all happening, and we'll have a great time for the next 3 hours, 9 until noon-ish, or thereabouts, as we do, excuse me, every Saturday from 9 to noon. See, that's a different cough than the one I usually get. For years, because it's Saturday morning, because I don't usually talk too much, it's 9 a.m. here in New York, before doing the show, I will get, the middle-aged man morning phlegm. And you all know, if you've been watching the show, you know this. I'll be talking, I'll be doing my thing, I'll be bantering with Joyce, I'll be doing stuff, and then somewhere about 20 minutes to 40 minutes in, I'll be like, I'll get the sting in my throat, and Joyce will be like, "You want a sucking candy? You want here? I'll make you tea. Drink." And meanwhile, it's just gobs of like keeping me from talking. At the one time, when of course I need to keep talking, but this is a little different. This is the only after effect, the only post side effect, knock wood, so far that I have had from getting COVID 2 weeks ago. So I talked about this ad nauseum last week that we had an event at the school where I work in. And it was our last day of school event. And everybody gathered outdoors for this kind of motivational speech and free pizza. And I knew when I was there, A, that I was stupid for not keeping my mask on. I know, outdoors, but surrounded by these people. And, and people who had spent, all year surrounded by children. That just occurred to me this moment. It isn't like even when I'm walking through New York and brushing past people or sitting in a Broadway theater with, until this week, masked folks who are generally in their 50s, 60s, 70s, right? No, it occurs to me now. I was surrounded by teachers and administrators in a school, and all they do all day is deal with little bitty balls of germs, right? And I just go, God, why couldn't I have just kept the mask on for the speech, for the thing? I didn't. And within a day and a half, and I mentioned this last week, middle of Sunday afternoon, I was fine. And then and I tried swallowing, and it hurt when I tried to swallow. And I know a lot of women use this as their excuse, but no, this is a thing. I was like, oh, no, because I just figured it would be a cold. When I get that, I mean, I haven't had it in a long, long time, but when I would get that over the years, this is just phlegm, by the way. I'm differentiating between COVID throat and, middle-aged Jewish man throat. That is a middle-aged Jewish man phlegm throat. Let me grab a little water. Just so you know, just so when you talk about this program around the water cooler tomorrow, you can say, I can tell the difference between COVID throat and old Jewish man phlegm throat. And Dave, this guy, Dave, taught that to me. I'm so proud. Ooh. So anyway, ah, I realize I swallow on a Sunday afternoon. I'm like, oh no, because that is the precursor. That's when I will get the head cold, the sinus, a little bit of a headache here, and just backwash into the back of my mouth, and at least it's just coughing and unpleasantness. And it's exactly what I got, but I was reasonably well enough to come into work the next day on that Monday. But I knew, I mean, I literally had my mask up. I was like, you know what, everybody, stay clear of me because I have a cold. I got something. Did not realize at the time. Took the test, took the home test and a test that they were giving at the school. And by the next morning, I got the results, and I was home for 5 days mandatory, sick with COVID. And I hope for those of you, and now it's so many of you out there who have dealt with it, that it was easy, quote unquote, as mine. That you had a couple of days where you had a bit of, I certainly had congestion, like kind of stuffy ears, eyes a little, headaches here and there, but within 3 days, I was getting over it. And usually for my normal colds, it takes 24 to 48 hours. This one took 72 to 96, but I am telling you, by the end of that week, I was, I would have gone into work. Had I not been still contagious. So it goes, and the thing is, thank God, everybody reacts different. I was talking to someone else at work who had it a month ago, and she had it for like 3 weeks. And then there was one day when she was really having trouble breathing. And it was like, and that is the terrifying thing. I did not have anything in terms of that level of chest or compression where can't get air, need hospital oxygen, and so forth, which people were dying from, by the droves back in 2020 and 2021. I got lucky. I don't say that my COVID experience in any way, shape, or form is everybody's COVID experience. I'm not even talking about back before all these variants that became weaker and weaker. I'm saying even now, you don't know that the COVID I get or give is going to give somebody else much worse, or something where they go, achoo, and then they're done. But they're positive for days at a time. I was lucky too. I tested positive on that Monday, and then for about 8-9 days, I mean, I tested again a few days later. I was still positive, even though I was feeling much better. And then I even have it over there. I can show you. What? I didn't even think to do this. I have visual evidence, ladies and gentlemen. Don't leave your seats. Where did I put them? Where did I put them? Because I was going to keep these. Oh, here they are. So behold, empirical evidence, my friends. This is the test I took, and it's funny. They say you have to read these things. They're very specific in the instructions of the home kit that you take. That you take it, and you've got to read it in 20 minutes, not before, and God knows not a minute after. 20 minutes. Check the results. Meanwhile, the results on this one are a week and a half old. They're still there. So this was the first test I took when I was still positive. If you've never done this at home, if you've never seen what one of these is, there it is. So there's your baseline. That basically just says you're alive. Everybody should get this line. But the T line means you got something. You drop your little nasal extractions into this with a dropper, and then the thing goes along. You wait a little while, and boom, you can see that I had this moderate, light-ish line. And this was probably the Thursday or Friday after I tested. So I was getting better, and you can see that it was leaving my system. And then I took another test a few days later, and look at me, clean as a whistle. COVID, excuse me. And then say this is which one? That's right, old Jewish man throat. This was old Abe, clean of both COVID and gonorrhea. Very excited about that. So, not a terrible deal. So, me thinking selfishly and personally now, I understand why the world has quote unquote moved on, why people going to the Ranger games when they were in the playoffs at Madison Square Garden was like, enough, we're not masking. People going to baseball games outside for sure, saying, yeah, either they've got it, I'm vaccinated, boosted, I'm not going to die from this, I might get a little sick from this, and this is why even the CDC, even the government says, you should do this still, but we can move further. On Broadway, you can choose to wear a mask or not. I went to Broadway this week. In fact, we'll have our Inside Broadway segment this week. Sorry, I got a little hair in my eye. Inside Broadway segment where I will talk about seeing the brand new Broadway revival of the Stephen Sondheim, James Lapine musical Into the Woods. So I was there, and I was there with a lot of people. In fact, a lot of people who, even in this, I'm sorry, when Broadway is trying to be careful, when they're still trying to say and balance what the union is saying, the actors union, of like, how dare you make this decision to unmask everybody without our say-so? How can you, with Omicron raging, and it is, with everybody still getting this rampant transmission, we're just not seeing all the results because everybody's testing at home now instead of sending the results to the government. Omicron and COVID is going crazy, and yet you choose this time in the middle of July to relax the masking, vaccination, and the mandates and checking for people when they're coming in. Now, I mean, are you nuts? And the Broadway League says, which is made up of producers, the people who put the money behind the shows and own the theaters and stuff, they're saying, look, we've done it. All the restaurants, right? All the dance clubs, all the places, they're not masking anymore. They're just not. They're under the assumption that 3/4 of the population has gotten the shot or more. And that if they hadn't, or even if they had, they've gotten COVID. So they've built up immunity already. Now, of course, the current variant, they're saying, could swing back again and get you. You get COVID, you think, oh, I'm done. I got immunity from the shot, sort of. I got more immunity from the booster, sort of. I still got the disease, but I got over it. So I'm freaking good. And then it can kick you in the tail again with a new variant, and you could re-get COVID. Lucky all of us, right? But again, it is the new normal. I have to wonder, like back in the, whatever it was, the 1200s, the 1300s, when the Black Death, when the plague was going around, when they sort of said, it's okay to kiss again. It's okay. What decision was that? It wasn't when the very last person died, and then they waited 2 weeks. And then they said, okay, you could still get bitten by a rat, but they at some stage, or fleas, they had to kind of make this decision. Well, 3 years ago, 80,000 people in London died. Last year, 20,000 people in London died. This year, we are estimating that from the Black Death, we'll lose 2,000 to 3,000 people. You could still potentially be one of them. However, we will reopen the greengrocer stalls. Okay? We'll have the Globe outside. I'm mixing years and centuries, by the way. But you know what I'm saying. At what point do you make the decision? And then you get, the nanny state people who, and then this is such a human thing, of like, when you're wearing a mask, you feel like you're the big moral upright one, and anybody you see who isn't is a dangerous idiot. Right? You're going around and I still do. I still wear a mask indoors anywhere, in the supermarket, if I go pick up food in a restaurant. And I'm looking around at people, and a little internal thing in me says, look at them. They're sitting there, and this is even months ago. They're sitting there at the bar, just talking and drinking, and they're sitting this close, and they're not even met, and why and how, and I'm going, standing online at the theater 2 nights ago. And they probably opened the house of the St. James Theater where Into the Woods is playing. Big theater. I mean, we're talking about, I think it's more than 1,400 seats in the St. James. It's a big Broadway theater. But I don't know why. Instead of opening the doors at 7:30 or 7:45, they must have waited until something like 10 to 8, or I'm sorry, 10 to 7, the 7 o'clock curtain. Must have waited until 10 to 7 to actually start letting people in because the line, it stretched so far. You had people asking because on the block leading towards the St. James Theater is a theater where another new piece is playing called The Kite Runner that'll be opening in a couple of weeks. And you have people asking, is this the line for The Kite Runner? No, this is for Into the Woods. Right? Because it stretched almost down the block. It reminded you of the stories you would hear about when Hello Dolly opened or My Fair Lady or something. And David Merrick, the producer, would just keep the doors closed. And just to make sure that the line for tickets would snake all the way everywhere. And by the way, that was back in the day when, people were just lining up to go buy tickets with a check at the box office. And so everything would take half a morning to go get tickets to some big hit show. Now it's just people waiting to show their telephones with their ticket scan code on it. But still, and I'm thinking, six of one, half dozen of another. They've got all these people waiting outside, which is safer than having them more indoors for more time. But at the same time, it's a long line, and everybody's kind of moving. It's not like we're maintaining 6 feet of distance from each other, and it's not like everybody's wearing masks. I would say, and I was very proud of the people in this theater on the St. James on Thursday. I would say 3/4 of people, maybe not outside, maybe not until they sat down and the show started, but 3/4 of the people were masked throughout the entire show. And again, there's that moral thing about we're the good guys. Now, I certainly was, because I was only a week after testing negative and getting over COVID. But, looking around and thinking, yeah, we're doing our bit. And I know the CDC says this and the government says that, but we're the moral, righteously upright ones. But at the same time, there is that moment of like, well, CDC said this and the government said that, and it's not a mandate anymore. And these are people who may have gotten COVID a year and a half ago, much worse than I ever did. And now they're choosing to go have a good time in a Broadway theater. And not sitting like this with this in your nose and trying to, it's like, I get that too, right? And it's amazing how the moral superiority comes off the second you pull this off and you go, I remember when I started walking around in either Nassau County where I am or Manhattan the first couple of times without a mask, and I felt like I was doing a dirty deed. And every time I would see or have to walk close to people, mask would go back up. But the freedom of just being like, maybe I should still, just in case, have a mask on, even though, it's completely outdoor surroundings and air is air, and it's the one thing I do want fresh. But, now that I've been through it, I still see both sides of the coin. I'm proud of the people who still mask, but I certainly have nothing against the folks who don't anymore, because people aren't to some extent anymore. So that's a bit of my post-COVID story. But as I said, I'm still, thank goodness, got over it, if you will. And you've seen my test. I'm so proud. And literally, it's like having a report card that you want to run home and show your parents. It's like, look at me, I'm clean, I'm beautiful, it's great. And even CVS, well, when I tested, I did one of the COVID tests at the local CVS, just because we don't necessarily trust the home kit, and it's tainted, and if it gives me a false positive or false negative, well, did the thing in the car. I think I told you about this last week. Swabbed myself while the guy was looking, and then I was still positive at that point. So I was like, okay, all right, let me wait a few more days. So it's been an interesting time in the Daverhood. I want to talk about a couple of other things, though. When I was still kind of under the weather a week and a half ago, and this tells you not just the old man Jew throat, not just the COVID, not just the baldness, not just something that's telling me I'm getting older. Not old. Do not feel old. So, if I wake up with my back out of whack or my neck, and then I feel, oh my God, I'm 100 years old. But on a general day, I feel like I'm 20-something, thank God. But there are other little things that remind me that, you're not so. And this is for everybody in my age group or a little younger. I'm 58. I'll put on the radio, and the oldies station is playing music from the 1980s and 90s. And I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't even grow up on MTV. I was already in my 20s and 30s almost when MTV was popping. What was it, 1984, 1983? And so I was like, and now to hear that called oldies must have been like my parents had been when the music they grew up with, 50s, 60s, no, 40s, 50s, would go on CBS FM. And it's more oldies. And to me, it sounded ancient. To me, it was like, oh God, the Crew Cuts and the Five Satins and the Orioles. It's like, and for my aunt and my folks, this was their thing. Oldies wasn't old to them. It was only 30 years ago for them. Well, think about it. 1980 was 42 years ago. And so, if I'm in the car and I put on the radio, it's like, more hits from the 80s. And Alan Hunter, I heard him in the supermarket. They have one of those Sirius channels. And Alan Hunter, one of the original MTV VJs. And he's turning into an old man because he was complaining. He was complaining about not being able to go to some concert. I think it was Elton John or Billy Joel or something in Colorado because he had to be somewhere else. And he still sounded not like a 70-year-old man, probably as close to it, or 60s. But I'm like, here I am, supermarket, Alan Hunter, and he's introducing crap like, we built this city on rock and roll by Jefferson Starship. I'm like, no. I want to just say this to Grace Slick and all the post-Jefferson Airplane people who were in Jefferson Starship, whatever those people were. It's like, no city was ever built on rock and roll. Never. Not in the cities were built on slavery, slave labor, coolies, and Chinese people and black people and ghetto folks of all ethnicities being underpaid and starved to death and ridden with disease, living in ghettos. We built most cities on that. And built cities on Robert Moses' plans for parks, but also destroying certain neighborhoods. We built certain cities these days on intricate digital grids and things. Nothing, no city. And if you built a city on rock and roll, I'm just spitballing here, but if you actually did try to build a city on rock and roll, it would not function in any way, shape, or form. Because you would drive a mile on the highway, and then, hey, it's rock and roll. There'd be a big fire pit. And you just see fire and sparks shooting out into the sky, and then all the billboards would be these incredibly scantily dressed, gorgeous models with hair, like up here and all the way down to there, like 20,000 tawny canes distress. There would be so many traffic accidents if you built a city literally on rock and roll. You could not navigate. You couldn't manage to stay for a week in a city that was built on rock and roll. All the signs, all the the manuals for running a government, because it's rock and roll, and there'd be certain probably hallucinogenic and stream of consciousness level to lyrics in rock and roll. Try reading a manual for how things get done, or Robert's Rules of Order, if it were in scanned poetry, written by the likes of Bob Dylan or Joni Mitchell. You'd be like, wait, okay, Alanis Morissette writing the guide for how traffic lights work, and say, that's a cool. What will I do? You don't build cities and rock and roll. I don't build crappy bands like Jefferson Starship, please. So when I say the 1980s was my music, that part of the 1980s wasn't my music. I was still listening to Elvis Costello and Till Tuesday and the Psychedelic Furs and the Bangles, and that was my 80s music. Thank you very much. But so I have that typical classic middle-aged man moment in the supermarket or in the car, putting on the radio. And then this one just caught me out of the blue. I like soup. By the way, I'm Dave Lefkowitz. The name of this program is Dave's Gone By. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, that's the point. But Believe me, this is germane. I like soup. It's not my favorite thing, certainly in the summer, a soup guy. But there's some soups that I really enjoy. If I'm sick, nothing like a hot bowl or a bowl of hot. You don't really want a hot bowl, it's hard to hold. A bowl of hot chicken soup or chicken soup with matzo balls. It's my culture, even if it weren't my culture. If you have a sinus, if you're backed up, if you're the steam, the fumes, the smell, the protein of that chicken, it's all good. It doesn't get better. And sometimes, though, since I grew up with that in my culture, I like other soups too, and creamy soups. I like a pea soup is nice, with little crumbled bits of stale bread and toast. Pea soup is good. I love cold vichyssoise. Haven't had it in years. Potato soup. Cold. Oh, nummies. Manhattan clam. I'm sorry, no. New England clam chowder, the white stuff, the stuff that looks like jism and phlegm mixed together with chunks in it. So good. Manhattan, not so much, but still good. Yeah, most soups are really good. The cream soups, and lentils nice. Not my favorite, but lentil is nice. If it's a little sweet, butternut squash, a lot of the bisques, wonderful. But never had much call for some of the Italian soups. They're fine, just like any. I used to have Campbell's vegetable soup from the can. It was my least favorite, still is. It's all right. It's hot, it's soupy, it's got veggies in it. The corn is, I always like corn. But, meh. And Italian soups always sort of reminded me of Campbell's vegetable. Not my thing, but certainly edible, certainly drinkable. But then I was still in the midst of my COVID cold. And we ran and we got food from a local Italian place. I was like, oh, let me have pizza or let me have some pasta or something. And for some reason, I want some soup. I need, because my throat is this, my head is this, let me have a nice hot bola of soup. Well, again, they have just a couple of items on the menu because it's not like the soup Nazi. It's an Italian place that happens to have some stew. So I'm, you know what? This is if they had another kind, if they had chicken, I get. But they have minestrone. Let me have a little minestrone soup with that. And I had my pizza. It was good. And then I crack into this little, I was, well, again, it was takeout menu. We're getting everything takeout. So it's in a paper cup. I'm eating the minestrone. And maybe it's because I've been sick. And I never lost my smell or my taste buds. I was lucky in that as well. But I'm like, this is so good. This is unbelievable. Still not my favorite. But suddenly, after 58 years on this planet, I was like, when I'm in this is, minestrone. It's got everything. It's got the vegetables, but it doesn't taste like Campbell's Chunky. And it's got like the broth. And it's got noodles in it. Who doesn't love noodles? Because it's mixing up the noodles and the vegetables. And my wife, Joyce, calls it an everything soup. And it's one of those, like a stew thing. What you got in the refrigerator? Oh, before it goes bad, throw it in a pot, cook it. It's, whatever, put them all together. It's good soup, right? But, maybe it's the restaurant that did it so well. But I had this one, and I said, oh my God, I'm getting older. Because now it's like, what suits me more than a schissel of minestrone soup. And then I had it again from another place this week, just to test, just to see, just to that maybe my brain hadn't been wired differently that week when I was sick, or maybe it was just that thing of when you're sick and something tastes good, you're extra grateful how good it is. Right? But I get it from this other restaurant, and it's almost as good. And the moment, you know how it is, that first ice cream cone you get after you can't have ice cream for a month or so, it's like unbelievable. And then you have a cone 3 days later, and it's incredibly great, but it can't recapture that moment. That's the kind of thing with the minestrone. But it was, again, so good. I become a minestrone man. Never in my life. Never. Clam chowder, for sure. Ever since I went unkosher in my teens. And other kind, and chicken, of course. But minestrone. Ladies and gentlemen, Old Dave has passed an age milestone. He's gone, he's moved into the minestrone part of his life. He's become a minestronian after all these years being so youthful, being so Jewish and regular and stuff. He's now, well, I'm going to be outside now on the stoop, sweeping, right, with a kerchief around my head and waving to people and pointing to kids, hey, get off the lawn, get off, it's almost my soup time. This will be me in just a couple of weeks. Anyway, it's 9:30-ish in the morning here in the Daverhood. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. We're doing Dave's Gone By. What else do we have to do? I didn't even talk about the show. So let me tell you about this particular episode, our 858th episode of the program, which mixes humor, sort of, and interviews and talk and fun. So here's what's going to happen. Coming up, we have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned, where I will be going to Firestone, Colorado, for a really awful limerick. I've been doing them for a couple of years now, every week, a different place in Colorado, because my wife and I lived there for a few years. I write a terrible, rude poem about, and this one is about Firestone. You'll endure it later in the program. And then we're going to go, as I mentioned, inside Broadway. I've got a review for you of the show that I did see in the city this week. First show I've seen in about a month now, Into the Woods on Broadway at the St. James Theater. All-star cast coming from Encores, the city center outfit. I'll tell you about it when I review it. But it's Into the Woods, hot ticket on Broadway. That'll be coming up. I'll be reviewing that and telling you a little bit more Broadway news. And then we have, in the Daverhood, our special guest this week. This is really cool. This is a guy who started out, and we're talking a few decades ago now, as, and don't hate the messenger, okay? He was not only a performing artist, but he was, honest to goodness, a street mime. I know, no, please, save your rage for the Republicans. No, he was many years out there. I think he was in the San Francisco Mime Troupe, where I trained mime on the street. And then he kind of changed his vision of what he wanted to do with his life. He was having more fun looking at and documenting other street performers, not just mimes, but people doing avant-garde stuff. And avant-garde in off Broadway and tiny little 50-seat theaters in downtown New York and all over the city. And I guess Brooklyn too. And then he really shifted fully into photography. And his name is Jim R. Moore. Jim R. Moore. He's going to be with us because he has a new book. He has one or two books out already. But it's a book of photographs of all the people over the past 10, 15 years that he has taken pictures of in performance on these small stages. And you go and get his book. It's called Don't Miss This. And some of the people that are in the book and in these wonderful, most of them color. I mean, this is a fancy, nice coffee table-ish book. Some black and white, mostly color, of folks like Tammy Faye Starlight, who was on this show just a couple of months ago, Penny Arcade, Trav SD, Paul Zaloom. Well, I actually never had Paul Zaloom on the show, but other folks. He's had like Peggy Weaver and Lois Shaw of Split Britches, and Reno, whom you've probably heard of. Just all these folks who, and it's about 270-something, lot of photos in this book of these folks in the midst of their act. And it's as different from people with like ventriloquism dummies to people doing really weird, creepy, avant stuff to more, character-based, funny or weird performers who are front-faced in front of an audience. Generally, almost none of these people has been on Broadway or may ever be on Broadway. Some have reached off-Broadway and some level of fame and name recognition. But the whole point is that they do it, and they've been at it. And so many of these people aren't just flashes in the pan, and they did one show or two and then moved on. They've staked a career as a certain persona or having a certain kind and level of talent. And that's what they do. So he's documented all these folks in his book. It's called Don't Miss This, and don't miss Rabbi Saul Solomon's interview with Jim R. Moore coming up just a little bit later in the show. And Rabbi Sal Solomon, just so you know, he's kind of a performer himself. He was on our very first episode of Dave's Gone By. He does a lot of our interviews now. He also gives us the occasional sermon, his short rabbinical reflection on things that have been in the news or in society or touching on Jewish culture, because Rabbi Sal is the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. So yeah, Rabbi Sal, he will do the honors of interviewing Jim Moore in just a little bit, actually just a couple of minutes, come to think of it. And then after the interview with Jim Moore, we have, yes, two of our most beloved people on this program joining us. Leslie Hoban Blake, who is a theater critic and co-host of the video podcast show Two on the Aisle, which you can watch on the Two on the Aisle channel on YouTube. She co-hosts that with Charlie Gross. So Leslie is here to play our weekly Today, Yesterday trivia game. And we're doing this a little differently this week because David Sheward, who usually plays with us, I should rephrase that, but David Sheward, who's usually here with us to play the game, he's off doing stuff with his mom. He's got some weekend stuff to do. He can't be on our little program this week. So, wow. And David just, I think he just wants to gloat. He won the quiz most handily last week. So he doesn't want his crown tested this Saturday on Dave's Gone By. So we'll do without him. It's going to be like the match, the ultimate match between Leslie Hoban Blake and our beloved friend Vicki Quade, who is a playwright and theater maker and actress in Chicago. In fact, she is the co-creator of Late Night Catechism. She's also the creator of this brand new show that they've been workshopping and doing out there at the Greenhouse in Chicago, Are You Smarter Than Your Fourth Grade Nun? And apparently she's gotten wonderful reviews on that. People are having a terrific time. If you're in Chicago this weekend, go to the Greenhouse Theater and see one of Vicki Quade's shows. Or watch Vicki Quade, because she'll be with us in about half an hour to play the Today, Yesterday quiz alongside and opposite Leslie Hoban Blake. It's going to be one-on-one. Oh boy, what a show we have for you. And then, let's see, is there anything else? And I was going to do this early, but I think I'm going to save it for later in the program. We have Greeley Crimes and Old Times, because again, my wife and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years. We lived in Greeley, Colorado. So there's a newspaper there called the Greeley Tribune. And one of the cool things about the paper is that it has a sense of humor. And two columns that it does every week are intentionally humorous, but they're also factual. They're not made up at all. One of them is called Cop Log, about phone calls that come into the local police department from people who see weird stuff going on in the neighborhood and want to tell the cops, hey, you should check this out. Except sometimes the things that the cops are being asked to check out should just be left alone. That's Cop Log. And then it's 100 years ago, where our friend Mike Peters of the Tribune will look through the newspapers back in 1922 and find the most weird, nostalgic, goofy things to modern eyes that were published in the actual Northern Colorado papers back then 100 years ago. They're both in the Greeley Tribune. We mix both of them up and share the funniest ones with you here on this program, Dave's Gone By, on the segment Greeley Crimes and Old Times. We'll also have friends of the Daverhood, and maybe I'll yak a little more about some other stuff. But we got the interview coming up. Let me get to that. First, though, I will tell you that if you like this show, if you're tuning in for the very first time, you still don't know what it is or what it's about, you can get much more of a sense of the show, the running gags, the themes, the where the show started and where it is now, because we've been on the air for almost 20 straight years. And if you want to hear where we started back in 2002 and follow along to 2005 and 7 and 12 and 14 and 19, all the archives are at davesgoneby.com. DAVESGONEBY.com. We've saved our very first show. We lost the second one, but the third one's there, the fourth, the fifth. literally, out of the 847 previous episodes of this program, we've been managed to salvage all or part of, usually in decent audio condition, a solid 852. I mean, we're just, literally thousands of hours of either audio or video of our interviews, of our sketches, of my ramblings, of Colorado limericks, of wretched puns of destiny. Back in the day, years ago, when we were on college radio, we played music too. We played a ton of Dylan. We had a Dylan segment, and those episodes you can't watch on YouTube because of copyright issues. Those were stripped down and muted by the powers that be. So our YouTube channel is good for the newer shows, not so good to find the older ones. You're better off going to davesgoneby.com or going to archive.org. We have a channel there. It's the same stuff you find on our regular website, archive.org. Look for the Dave's Gone By channel. And also, if you just care about the audio, if you know that the whole show visually is me looking at you or looking towards you with potatoes in the background, and that's not really going to change except for the interview coming up with Rabbi Saul. You might, maybe you just want the audio. That's okay. You can go to castbox.fm, castbox.fm, which is specifically for podcasting. It is audio files that makes it really easy for you to just upload or down, whatever they do. I don't know the technology. So if you just want audio, you can get our show at castbox.fm once the show is aired and it's in the archives. So a lot of different ways to access older episodes and interviews of the show. Not to mention, the last 4 years of our show is still on Facebook. All you have to do is scroll and scroll and scroll. And if you happen to live in Nassau County and you get Altice Cable, Channel 20, Tuesday nights from 9:30 to 10:30, you can watch a 1-hour excerpt of us on public access. Again, it's the same stuff from our shows, just an hour plucked at random here and there, just for the fun of being on regular television, But you don't need regular television to watch this program even now, because we have our interview about to begin. I'm going to share my screen in order to do this. I hope this works. So, hey, you should be seeing all my screen things now. Oh no, better hide my personal information, because this I'm not going to hide. And there's the roller die that I use for the quiz. But coming at you in just a moment, Rabbi Saul Solomon and Jim R. Moore. I'm not going to lie to you, they couldn't be live with us today. So this was pre-taped about a week ago. But Jim Moore is the author, the creator of a new book of pictures of performance artists and theater people called Don't Miss This. You're not going to want to miss the book or this interview with the one, the only, the Jewish Rabbi Saul Solomon here on Dave's Gone By.
Background looks very good. Oh,
shalom, my friends, shalom, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I'm thrilled and delighted to talk to a person who has photographically chronicled weird people doing even weirder theater. Or maybe weirder people doing weird theater. Well, either way you want to put it. But he's chronicled all these folks who have been downtown avant-garde creators of art and theater. Folks like Paul Zaloom, Carmelita Tropicana, Peggy Weaver and Lois Shaw of Split Bridges, Reno, and also some people who have been on this program like Tammy Faye Starlight and Penny Arcade. So lots of wonderful pictures and some content about them too in his book, Don't Miss This. Don't miss our interview right here, right now with Jim Moore. Shalom, Jim.
Greetings, everyone. How are you tonight?
You can see I've got the cold, I've got the COVID, I've got prostate issues. You don't really, but you look good. You look very happy and fabulous in your office space there.
Thank you. I'm trying to keep it together.
Now, is that your special? Is there a dark room somewhere, or are you don't even deal with dark rooms anymore?
No, I don't use a darkroom anymore. I mean, I'm mostly digital. I have a whole archive of analog negatives here that I shot up until 10 years ago. But I send them out to the lab when I need them printed, or I scan them and make and put them online, which is what mostly happens these days.
Do you miss the days of that kind of control, of going into the dark room, less exposure, more exposure, the solidarity and the solitude? Or is it like, oh, the hell with the chemicals and the this, I'm just going to, this pick, run it up, it's done.
Yeah, I miss the darkroom. I miss that solitude. I miss the quality control and the magic of the image coming up in the paper, and and being able to make different size prints and hanging them on the wall so beautifully. Yeah, I miss all that. But at the same time, it's a trade-off. The chemicals were a little toxic, but such is life. Life is toxic. What can you do?
Maybe you can still, and I assume you do still, take a picture and make it any size you want and can put it on the wall. That hasn't, or has it changed?
No, that hasn't changed. No, that hasn't changed, except you don't print them yourself anymore. You get a lab to print them up now. Yeah.
If you had to choose one or two or three of your all-time favorite photographs.
Oh dear.
Of yours, of your own.
That's a good question. I would have to give that some thought.
It's a 3-hour show here, so let's
Let me think. I'm going to think about it. Maybe I can get an answer to you later on in the interview.
Keep that in the back of your head there.
Okay. Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite picture in your current book? Don't miss this.
No, I love them all. I love every picture in the book. We actually had 500 pictures that we honed down from several thousand to 500, and then the 500 got narrowed down to what's in the book now, which is 280. So these are the gems of all the stuff that got cut away. Which
I gotta ask, what was 281?
Oh, 281. Yeah, that we reformatted the book at one point, and we were actually able to include quite a few pictures that I thought were going to be cut, which was really a pleasure. So there's one wonderful picture of Greg DeSanto, who's a ex-Ringling clown who now has a museum of clowning in the Midwest. So he was actually on the cutting block, but then I was able to get him in the book, which was great because he deserves to be in the book.
Now, percentage-wise, how many of the photos in the book were actual staged, like come do this in a studio, dress up, we'll take different angles, versus see them in person or in rehearsal, shoot, and grab the best?
I would say like 99% of them are in the performance shots.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Most of them, all of them. I mean, the idea was that it's going to be a book of performance shots, and I don't know if there's any shots in there that were staged. To be perfectly honest with you, I think everything was shot in performance.
Well, their photos are really, really clear, and they seem almost staged. That's how good the pictures in this book don't.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we use good equipment, and wait for the right moment. Edit all those pictures down to the best pictures. You get some real gems. Now,
here's the deal. Of all the performers whom you photographed, do you have a particular favorite of their work? Like, I really love watching Nina Conti or whoever else.
I love Nina Conti. She is hysterical, and I mean, everybody in the book is like my favorites. They're all my favorites. I love. I mean, we had a wonderful book launch on May 9th at the Slipper Room in Lower Manhattan, and I had 11 of the local people that were in the book perform on stage, and it was such a hoot, such a funny show, such a great group of talented people. I mean, just amazing lineup, which I put together for that event. It was really a special event, and I just loved all those people. They were all people that I had photographed at the Slipper Room at some point in the past, so it was really a treat to see them performing together. And most of the time, the Slipper Room has 3 acts, intermission, and then the same three people do a different act, right? So it's basically, the same 3. I had 11 different performers from the beginning to the end. It was just a delight.
Well, let me ask you, the one thing that, and maybe I didn't look closely enough at the book, but the one thing I kind of hoped or expected to see in the book that I don't think was there are the progenitors of this kind of performance in some way, any of the NEA 7. I didn't see Holly Hughes, I didn't see Karen Finley, I didn't see... Did you make an effort to get those folks, or was it just...
Yeah, so that that stuff is in my previous book.
Which was?
Which was called Insights, Jim Moore Insights. And it's all black and white stuff. It came out in 1989. It was printed by um, a group called the Mime Journal out of Pomona College. It was a really lovely little book, kind of a black limited edition printing. It was really nice. So there's a lot of the performance art people that are NEA people that you were mentioning that were in that book. Peggy, and Peggy Shaw, and they're in the book. They were. That was a shot. That was actually shot in the early days of the book. I mean, the book goes from 2010 to 2019, so that was one of the early shots that I did at PS 122 before they closed down. They became something else.
But didn't they come back? Or is that?
Yeah, it's called Performance Space New York now. They rebranded it. Yeah, so it's not PS 122.
Big rebranding. Oh, it's not PS anymore. It's now which it always was. It always was Performance Space, but people shortened it to PS so we could say it in a sentence easily. But now, they're rebranding it now. Oh, that was the full title. Oh, biggie deal. But let me also ask you this: you yourself, at one point, were a street performer.
Yes.
Tell me what was your act? What did you do?
I performed as a mime, primarily, a white-faced Marceau type mime. At the time, that was very popular, late 70s, early 80s. I worked in the streets of New York, Paris, Amsterdam, Brussels, Houston. But I also did shows in colleges and universities and elementary schools. I did a lot of demonstrations for young children in schools from kindergarten all the way up through high school. It was
I've got to ask, because everybody has mime. Mimes. But seriously, like on a day that you weren't doing a special school benefit or something like that, if you were standing on the street outside the Metropolitan Museum of Art or Lincoln Center doing your mime thing, would you have money for dinner at the? How much would you make on an average day annoying people with this?
It depended on the day and the location where I was performing, and in the very beginning, I wasn't very good, so I didn't make a lot of money. But later on, I got much better at it. Like any craft, you develop sort of more of a knowledge of what you're doing and how to do it properly. So I would make anywhere from $30 to $200, depending on what.
Business. Oh, the rabbi business sounds like you get like $8 a day.
Tax free.
So let me ask you though. But you gave that up. You decided. You know what? I like being on the behind the scenes. I like looking at other people rather than people looking at me. Was that what basically happened?
I basically was like a photographer or a hobbyist all during the time that I was performing as a mime. And I was taking pictures of my peers, other people in the streets that were performing, at the same time I was performing in the streets. And I realized that I really enjoyed taking pictures more than I enjoyed the performing. So I did it like for, 15 years I performed, which is a good run. And then I realized, when I got a little older, I realized that I really enjoyed documenting the performing arts more than I enjoyed being a performer. I mean, don't get me wrong, I miss the performing. I mean, there's nothing like the adulation you get from an audience applauding for your work. That's special. So I miss that part of it. That it's kind of alive, unlike going to a gallery and seeing a piece of artwork or a photograph on the wall and somebody saying, "Oh, it's a lovely photograph." It's not the same as getting all that applause while you're standing in front of them. So I miss that part of it, but it's a trade-off.
I get there. I mean, I had in my synagogue little whoopee cushion buzzers under all the seats. So at the end of my sermon on Shabbos, it goes zit zit, and they all jump to their feet. Hi! I love it. It gets me going. It really pumps me up. With Jim R. What does the R stand for? What is that middle name?
What's that? R? Robert.
Jim R. Robert Moore here. His book is called Don't Miss This, and you can learn more about it and buy it, I think, at the website vaudevisuals.com. That's a great name right there.
Actually, the website for the book is vvpress.com.
VD Press? Or
like Vaudevisuals, vvpress.com.
And that's VD Press, and let me tell you, it took penicillin to get rid of that. But let me also ask you, you went years ago to the alma mater of the producer and host of this program, Dave's Gone By. You went to NYU. Tish, what did you study there? What were your memories of going to NYU back in the day?
I studied film back in the day. It was, cinematography, shooting a movie, that kind of stuff,
So who was your favorite teacher there?
Oh, I don't remember any of the teachers. That was longer than I care to remember.
Well, we're talking
like late 60s,
Well, okay. What was New York like for you?
Oh, New York was a great place. I loved New York when I first came here. I moved here in 1967. I had an apartment on the Lower East Side on 7th between Avenue C and D. I was a student at School of Visual Arts at the time. Before I transferred, I was there 1 year at SBA, and then I transferred to NYU because they had a better film program at at NYU. They had a better film program, so I went over there afterwards. But yeah, so it was dangerous as hell, but cheap. I mean, my rent was like less than $150 a month, and I shared it with two other guys. So we paid like $50 a piece for a 2-bedroom, 4th floor walk-up on the Lower East Side.
So you could do one afternoon at mine and pay your rent for the month.
Absolutely. That was the good thing about it. You could do artwork and take your artwork money and pay for your rent.
But you say that's the thing. You went to NYU for film.
Yeah.
TV, not visual art. Were you thinking of becoming a filmmaker? What happened with that?
Yeah, I was interested in becoming a film director. I actually recently I directed a short film, which won an award at the Coney Island Film Festival. What year was it? Let's see. 2012. It won the Best Picture at Coney Island Film Festival. It was called The Ridiculous Romantic. It was a short, experimental, black and white, silent movie with a clown as the star. It was really fun.
Speaking of movies, didn't you also work on a documentary? And I don't know how close you got with the subject of this, but there was a thing about a guy walking between what was then the Twin Towers. Philippe Petit did it, French guy. But how did you get involved in that?
Yeah, so Philippe Petit, French aerialist, high wire walker. He's a street juggler also. He walks on high wires. He did Notre Dame in 72. He did Sydney Harbor Bridge in 73. And then he wanted to do something in New York. So he contacted a friend of his in Paris and said, do you know anybody in New York that's a street performer? So she said, yeah, I know Jim Moore. He's a street mime. So she had him call me. We talked on the phone. I gave him some ideas about where he should perform. And he started off performing in front of the 42nd Street Library. Afterwards, we went out and had a bite to eat. And he told me, well, I'd like to string a wire between some buildings in New York and walk on them at some point in the future. Can you help me out? I said, sure, I'd be glad to help you out. So I became his...
Stop. How would you... No, I mean, it all worked out. It's fine. You did a documentary about it. What if he had... God forbid, Humpty Dumpty. What if he had fallen? How would you feel about your not saying instead, don't do that? What the fuck is wrong with... Don't! You can do the same act with the wire strung 1 foot above the ground. It's the same principle of height on a little wire. Why? I mean, honestly, how would you have felt?
Well, that's an interesting point you make because of the people that helped him at the top, the people that actually went to the top of the tower and helped string him the wire, I wasn't one of those people because I told him in the very beginning, I can't participate as one of the people that help you rig the wire because I'm the only American in your group. And I would get, if anything happened to you, by the way, I'd never seen him walk on a wire ever when I started and offered to help him. I'd never seen him walk, but I trusted that he knew what he was doing. I'd seen his pictures of Notre Dame and the Sydney Harbor Bridge that he had done illegally a couple of years before, so I knew he was, pretty legit, you know what I mean? So I became his photographer in New York, and I helped him up to the point where, that last day when he went up to the top with the 4 guys, and they strung the wire from 7 o'clock p.m. until 7 o'clock a.m. And then he did his 7 times across, 7 crossings back and forth on the wire.
How do you feel about it in retrospect? Is it a wonderful thing that he did? Or, do maybe children watching this say, oh, I can grow up to do that? And you just want to go, no, he got lucky. I mean, again, what do you say?
No, he wasn't lucky. He's very skilled at what he did. And he actually makes that point very clearly in what he does. When he talks to people and does lectures about his work, he says, it's a fool's game to do things that you're not skilled at. And I'm certainly one of the people that would say, don't do this if you don't practice every day for the last 30 years. And that's exactly what he did. He practiced every day for 30 years. So he became very, very skilled at what he did. And I give him a lot of credit for what he did. I think it was a beautiful act of art in the sky. Just gorgeous.
Now, speaking about art, I do want to get back to your new book, Don't Miss This, available where all books are sold. So here's the deal. You have 280 really wonderful photographs of all these performers with not a lot of, there's some interview stuff and there's some writing, but it's mostly an image book, coffee table-ish.
Yeah.
How do you arrange all these pictures? There's no I mean, is it just, do you have a feeling of like what one goes after another? What should be on the left side of the page versus the right side of the page? How do you organize them for reading?
Well, when I was thinking about the book, I tried to like brainstorm about like how I wanted to lay it out, like you're saying, like where do I start with this idea of all the, I mean, we start with 500 pictures and then we narrow it down, but the idea came to me at one point of making it a chronological study. So from 2010 to 2019, it broken into years. So if you turn the page, it says 2010, then there's all the pictures I took in 2010. Then there's a page that says 2011. There's all the pictures I shot in 2011. Now, they're not necessarily sequentially dated in that group.
The year by year, they're
and I laid it out so artistically they flowed visually from one year to another, one page to another. Yeah. So that's
you also. The book is done. The photos are now at least a year or two old. Some of them are 12 years old. Have you continued taking pictures of these kinds of performers just in case there's a sequel or another book, or are you on to other things?
I shot a show last night, a magic show last night that was actually brilliant. I mean, 3 performers. One was a juggler, one was a mentalist, and one was a really brilliant magician. The headliner last night, his name is Peter Samuelson. He's a very skilled and talented magician. He's actually in the book. So he performed last night, and I photographed him again because I really enjoy watching his work because he stuns me every time he performs. It's just like really quite stunning magic.
Now, speaking of stunning, the one thing I've held back from people is they might be stunned that not only have you photographed some fairly big name and non-known essential street and off-Broadway performers, but you've been on the road photographing major, I can't even think of the words, like a COVID brain fog here, but the Rolling Stones, the Grateful Dead. Tell us experiences.
Yeah, so that was quite a few. That was when I was in my 20s. I worked for a couple of rock and roll magazines. One was called Crawdaddy. It was pretty big. It was kind of like a Rolling Stone type thing at the time. It was kind of competing with Rolling Stone. I shot John McLaughlin and Mahavishnu Orchestra in Central Park. The Rolling Stones in Madison Square Garden. Went on tour with Jethro Tull. Photographed the traffic at the Fillmore East. A lot of really fun shows. Really a lot of fun shows.
That's the difference, though, of going to, let's say, Dixon Place or the Duplex or 88, 100 people milling about with cocktails and watching a thing, versus the Stones at Monterey or where. I mean, did they give you access to the lip of the stage? Are you on the stage? Where are you, and how do you get what you need to get?
Yeah, I was actually in the 3rd row. I actually bought a ticket to shoot that show. Sometimes, I mean, with the Jethro Tull group, I went on tour with them. They paid me to shoot, him performing, Ian Anderson performing on the road. So that was later on, but in the early days, I just used to pay to go see shows and take pictures. So that was, that was a fun thing. But the Stones were, I don't think, they probably have one.
In the 3rd row of a massive thing, was there always somebody still behind you in the 2nd and 1st row where you get the shots? Oh, Sit down, goddammit. You know.
You always have that problem, always, especially when I was at the Fillmore East, I used to get pushed all the time by people like trying to get closer to the stage, to be next to the star, to be next to Stevie Winwood or somebody. It's like I saw my camera got flung around, like all the time. Sometimes I have blurry pictures as a result of that, but.
Did you ever have, besides, all right, first of all, since you're on the road with Tull, you probably got to know Ian Anderson and, Barrett and the gang. Any on-the-road Tull stories? Did they have really weird hippie chick groupies? Were they, I don't know, sipping butternut squash from hollowed-out wooden cups or something? Tell me some Jethro Tull trivia.
Jethro Tull. Well, actually, Ian Anderson was quite a brilliant rock and roll musician because he took all the money he earned from rock and roll and he invested in caviar farms
he raised
in Scotland.
His own fish.
Up in Scotland. Yeah, so he's still performing. Actually, he's still on tour here and there. But he's got a wealth.
I want to know about your experience on a tour bus or at least following around and being in the dressing room. Nothing. No, just like they were normal.
I was just, they put me in the front of the stage, and I photographed the show, and then I would leave and go to the hotels that they situated for me, and then the next day I'd come back to the theater or club and be in the front row shooting the show again. So I didn't really get to hang with the people. It wasn't part of that contract.
So when you photographed the Stones, so you would buy a ticket, but you never had any personal dealings or interaction with them or with Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead or were there any rock stars that you interacted with?
Yeah, there was one time when Crawdaddy magazine sent me to Watkins Glen, which was a rock concert like Woodstock, upstate, and it was on a raceway that they had set up as a concert hall. And the Grateful Dead performed there, and the Allman Brothers performed there, and I was there shooting the show as well as this gentleman I was working with, who was a reporter. He interviewed Dickie Betts, the guitar player. Yeah, so he was interviewing Dickie Betts, and I was photographing the interview of Dickie Betts. So that was kind of fun to just hang out with Dickie, hear his story, what he was doing, the band, and how his involvement with the band was changing, and all those kinds of things. That was quite inspirational. And the other one that I really enjoyed was when I photographed Canned Heat at the Electric Circus on St. Mark's Place. They were terrific, and I got to hang with them. They were really nice. They were really nice people. They were an amazing group. Really loved them.
Well, let me ask you. You had this pretty wonderful life. All things considered, you went into a field. First it was like street performer, mime, then photography, then film for a little bit. Everything your mother probably told you, you should probably not go into if you want to make it. What did you actually, when you were in high school, what did you think you were going to be?
I didn't have any clue what I was going to do in high school. I was very disgruntled nonconformist, and I wanted to ride a motorcycle from the top of North America to the bottom of South America, which never happened. I never actually got skilled at riding a motorcycle, but that was one of my dreams, But when I got out of school, I got into photography. I was taking pictures of my girlfriends and stuff like that, and that just I got better and better at it, and then I started performing, because that was actually something that happened in my last year of film school. I started performing as a mime. That's a very complicated, long story, but yeah, it was kind of fun to, explore the sort of the language of movement and understand that was kind of what gave me a better understanding of photographing these performers later on, was having been a performer myself and knowing when the vital moment is to capture, because I had been there creating those vital moments. That's really what it's all about.
Now, let me ask you, you mentioned you have girlfriends and stuff like that. I'm kind of curious. Are you married? Do you have youngins? We haven't hit any of the real personal life stuff. What is your life, Jim Moore?
I'm married.
Awesome.
Very happily married for 20-something years. 2 boys. One's 53. One's 32. 4 grandchildren.
I believe you have a 32-year-old. I'm not so sure I believe you have a 53-year-old. That's wow. Wow, you married young then, youngish?
Very 22, yeah, I was very young. Yeah.
What does your wife do? I'm curious. Or she's retired. What does your wife do?
She's a practicing alternative medical practitioner.
So Reiki and this kind of thing, or
I don't know if you know homeopathy.
look, if a man wants to be with another man in a sexual way, it's not. It's fine by me. That's all I know from homeopathy.
It's kind of an alternative practitioner of homeopathy is different than what you just mentioned. It's a very
I'm kidding, of course. I know it's using roots and branches and herbs and other ways of healing people.
Yeah, actually, if you do some research, you'll realize that homeopathy was the most practiced medicine in the United States before the AMA was established. In fact, there's a hospital named after the primary practicing homeopath in Pittsburgh. There's a hospital named after him. They started up as a homeopathic hospital, and they named it after him. And now it's a legitimate hospital. I mean, for the AMA and regular doctors, but it was actually a formal medicinal practice for many years.
See, my problem is every time I get sick, I go to a hospital named after a sociopath. I choose the wrong thing. I should have gone to the homeopath hospital. Instead, I go to the sociopath hospital, and I get even sicker. Well,
I think most of them are like that, I think.
Here's the other question. Really, we've had a wonderful time talking with Jim Moore. But Jim, what are you working on now?
Yeah, so I as a result of COVID was actually an interesting fermenting time for me because I was working on this book project, and I thought, I want to do more with the publishing industry. I want to do more with the book thing, So I started a small publishing company, and I'm going to basically be doing a couple more books after, I'm actually working on 3 books right now.
Are they like coffee table, pretty color? Oh no, it's a different thing. What is it?
It's a smaller, more. I don't know what you want. One's an autobiographical. One's a tribute book to a friend of mine who's a magician who's living in Frankfurt, who's very sick, and yeah, so I'm doing a tribute book for him. Hopefully it will be published before he leaves the planet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So and a couple other things which I just haven't decided if I'm going to do 100%, if I'm going to do them or not. But yeah, so small. My Vaudevisuals Press is the company I started based on my blog, which is vaudevisuals.com. That's the blog.
Look at you doing your own plugs. You just saved me the thing of having Vaudevisual, VAUDEVISUALS.com. It was VBpress.com.
That's where you can buy the book.
You can buy the book at VBpress.com, but more about you at vaudevisuals.com. You being Jim Moore. Jim, it has been just so lovely talking with you and hearing about your stories and your life. Look, can I ask one more question before I let you go?
Sure.
Since you were a street performer for so many years, you have to have one story about something that happened to you when you were performing in front of somebody or a crowd, some audience member keeled over or vomited on you or something funny had to happen. What?
I'll tell you, I had a couple of situations that I thought were pretty crazy. One of them, which I think is probably the most interesting, was I was performing in front of the 42nd Street Library here in New York City, and this guy comes up to me and punches me out. He punches me out and almost knocks me over. I mean, here I am in whiteface and costume, right? And he starts yelling at me and telling me, "You're my ex-wife's lover. Don't do it again. Don't do it again."
Wow. Were you?
No. I had no idea who this guy was, So that was one of the 2 situations. The other one was when a guy emptied a gallon of white paint on me. He just heaved a gallon of white paint on me and then said, "Now that's funny. Now that's really funny."
Wow. What happened? I have to follow it. I mean, did you try and find a cop? Did you try and slug him? Or were you just in such, what the fuck? I need a shower. I mean, what did you do?
He just walked away, and I left him go. I mean, I didn't want to get into an exchange with him. I thought, this is crazy. I didn't wipe my nose, a little bloody, and I just continued performing. He kept
wait. He dropped whitewash on you. He pulled a bucket of white paint.
Right.
How long did it take paint to come out of the crevices of your scrotum?
I had to stop performing when that happened. I mean, I had to pack up and go home when that happened.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
And the joys of live theater, isn't it wonderful? This is why you go behind the camera. I'm telling you. And if you want to see what magic that Jim Moore makes behind the camera. Get his book. Don't miss this. For the visuals.
Actually, here it is.
Oh, here, please, yes, show it. Oh, pretty.
There it is.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Where all books are sold. Jim Moore, oh, thick and pretty. That's how I like my women. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Moore. What a delight. Much more photography, much more art and publishing and creativity to you in the many years to come.
Thank you very much.
For being in the Daverhood.
And pleasure. Take care. Rabbi Sal Solomon there with Jim Moore. Very, very happy to have him as a guest and telling his stories. I'm so glad the Rabbi saved like the best for last there of asking like weird things that happened in terms of, trying to do his job and do what he does. What I do is this program every Saturday morning from 9 until noon or thereabouts in the Daverhood. It's called Dave's Gone By. I'm, as I said, Dave Lefkowitz. I need to just try and get in touch here with, let's see, make sure that the people who are going to be playing our quiz are ready to play our quiz. And those are going to be Vicki Quade. She is the playwright and actress out in Chicago there. In fact, you can see her this weekend doing, I don't know if she's doing Bible Bingo this weekend. We'll ask her, but she's also going to be doing Are You Smarter Than Your Fourth Grade Nun? And, of course, Late Night Catechism. So let me just text her. Hope she didn't oversleep. And then, of course, we're also waiting for the wonderful, the delightful, and our longtime pal, Leslie Hoban Blake, who's always late, of course. Haven't heard from her, but I'm hoping she's been she has phone issues and internet issues, and she's generally starts trying to log in a half hour early. And if we're lucky, she comes on about half an hour late. So fingers crossed for both of them here on this Saturday, Leslie, yay! This Saturday, July 16th, 2022. Let's get Leslie into the Daverhood. Fingers crossed. She's approaching. And by the way, we mix comedy and talk and music, and our archives are at davesgoneby.com. Let's see if we can get Leslie in to play the Today, Yesterday trivia quiz. Let's see. Maybe. What else can I tell you while we're waiting? I want to give a shout out to the fine folks at Hewlett Minuteman Press. They are the copy kings of Broadway in Hewlett, Long Island. I can't do a plug for them because if I put a plug on TV for the public access, it's a problem. I can't advertise it. Boy, I'm not advertising. I'm just saying the Torong family runs the franchise of Hewlett Minuteman in Hewlett, Long Island. You know what Minuteman does. Silk Spring and copy and printing and stuff like that. I'm not going to tell you to buy things there or to spend money there or do anything. I'm just saying they exist and they're great people. And that's what you need to know. So let me just see if I may need to send Vicki a link. I'm sure she has it. This is unusual for her. Let's see. Okay. What else can I tell you while I'm sort of killing time? I may have to do another segment by the time our guests in the Daverhood log on. But what else can I tell you about this show? Coming up on this particular episode, we've got our Colorado Limerick of the Damned. We're going inside Broadway for a review of the new Broadway revival of Into the Woods at the St. James Theater. And, oh, yes, Greeley Crimes and Old Times. So that's coming up, too. Or maybe we'll just do one of those immediately. You know what? Why don't we do, while we're waiting, some Friends of the Daverhood and get that out of the way. That's kind of a fun thing. What we're waiting for is a couple of Friends of the Daverhood on this Saturday morning. So friends are folks who have been on this program. For example, Jim R. Moore is, who Rabbi Saul just talked to, is our brand new friend. Well, he was on a couple of minutes ago. Now we're going to follow him. If he puts out another book, we're going to let you know where you can get it and what it's about. If someone who was in a Broadway show 3 years ago when they were on this program and they're doing another show,
we kind of let you know. That's why they're friends of the Daverhood. Let's play a little of our friendly music to get you let's see, am I in a Mozart or a Beethoven or a Haydn mood? I would say I'm in, let's do some, Haydn's the usual. It's our usual go-to. Nice. Very allegro. Yeah. Ooh, that's some fine classical Haydning there. So I just want to tell you for a couple of minutes what people who have already been on this program in years past have been up to, in recent times. For example, let me find my page. See, this is how the show goes when my wife Joyce isn't part of it, and it becomes kind of an all-in-one cluster. Want to give a shout out to our friend Robert Cuccioli, who is doing and who is starring as Sweeney Todd, the classic Sondheim musical that is being done at the St. Louis Muni Theater, like the biggest theater in St. Louis. So if you happen to be out there in Missouri, go see Robert Cuccioli in Sweeney Todd. And that's running now through, it's just for a week, because I think it's a giant theater. I mean, just come there for a week. But it's playing now through, what is today? Through the 22nd. You have a couple of days to do it. If you're out on the West Coast, go see Will Mannis's play. It's called The Funny Man. It's all about S.J. Perlman, the classic comedy acerbic writer. It's at Right Act Repertory. That's the theater company that's doing it at a place called the Brick House in North Hollywood, California. Steven Bringberg, who has been known for years for playing Barbra Streisand, for impersonating her. He's doing Simply Barbara. This is at Chelsea Table and Stage, and it's going to be happening on Monday night. And this is the very cool thing. We'll be talking a little bit about Funny Girl in a few minutes when we do Inside Broadway, because there's Funny Girl news. There always is. Well, Julie Benko has been the understudy for Beanie Feldstein, right? And I saw Julie Benko, now my brain's going. Julie Benko when I went to see Funny Girl, because Feldstein was out, as she often is. And Benko was really, really good. She was, I don't know if she's star material, but she was really, really good. So, hey, if you want to see her in a different circumstance, she is going to be appearing with Steven Bringberg in Simply Barbara at Chelsea Table and Stage. That is happening on Monday night. Paradise Square, you just have a couple more chances to see it this Saturday. You got the matinee today, and you have the evening show tonight, and then the matinee tomorrow, and then it's over. The Broadway show, which is co-written by our friend Larry Kerwan and choreographed by Bill T. Jones. Paradise Square on Broadway. Just 3 more chances to see it. Letting you know that Saturday night, tonight, at 5:30, and every Saturday night, at least in July, and I'm sure it's going to be extended, we're going to have, or Eric Comstock and Barbara Fasano are at Birdland. For tickets, go to birdlandjazz.com. And then now through the end of the month, if you happen to be in Barcelona, Spain, Alice Ripley is doing an immersive 1-hour version of the musical that got her Tony Award, Next to Normal. They've restaged it, redesigned it, and cut it down to an hour, and they're doing it half digital in a weird amp. I have no idea what they're doing, but it's Next to Normal, coming to you from Spain. And then Annie Golden, just saw her 2 nights ago in Into the Woods at the St. James Theater. Katsura Sunshine is doing his Japanese storytelling show Rakugo at New World Stages. That is on Thursdays only. Christian Knoll is appearing in Dear Evan Hansen. That is running only through the middle of September, because that will be closing on Broadway. Come From Away is by Irene Sankoff and David Hine. That show, too, has posted an end date. It's going to be running till early October. On Broadway, Mr. Saturday Night, with lyrics by Amanda Green, is at the Nederlander Theater. Aladdin is at the New Amsterdam Theater, which features music by our friend Alan Menken. And then now through whenever, Mondays, every Monday night at Birdland, Jim Caruso's Cast Party. It's like an open mic for Broadway people. Get your tickets at birdlandjazz.com. Evan Seplow is the founder and editor of StageBuddy.com for your news and information about New York nightlife. Watch, or I should say, listen to Dr. Demento shows from many, many years ago, as well as brand new ones at drdemento.com. And don't forget Upstate New York history podcasts from Bob Cudmore at bobcudmore.com. And those, my friends, are the friends of the Daverhood. Oh, and the music ended anyway. Okay. Well, it is about 27 minutes after 10 in the morning Eastern time, and we are here with one of our great, great, good friends, arranging her hair as best she possibly. Yeah. I should have your.
I was outside. I literally was outside, and I thought, "Oh my God, it's the quiz!"
Like you forget. Like it's more important to be looking at bumblebees than to making a point of time.
I ran inside. I was like, "No!"
Yeah.
Oh my God! But then I came on, and I'm like the only one. So where's everyone else?
Well, first of all, David Sheward is not going to be here because he's doing holiday, or not holiday, but stuff with his mom and his husband and stuff. So he couldn't be here. We knew that. Leslie has been trying as ever to log on and is not having any luck logging.
Well, I actually had trouble with the internet. It wouldn't come on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I mean, I would have been on actually about 5 or 6 minutes ago, but I just kept having to
be honest.
refresh.
You could have said, "Oh, no, I've been trying to log on for 20 minutes here, and then just wouldn't get me on here."
I'm not going to lie.
I wonder if we should keep trying.
But I had trouble with the internet. I don't know if it was some issue or what. Not sure.
Well, I'm just going to write one more time to Leslie.
If not, I guess I win the quiz.
It's automatic. No, I was so excited.
Automatic winner.
One-on-one. This was going to be like a great, incredible showdown between Vicki Quade and Leslie Hoban. Like, no man, just you and you and you. 8 questions and a tiebreaker.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see if we can get her on.
No, Leslie's just keeping writing, does not want to let me in. I don't know. I'm glad you were able to. So Vicki, a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
As hopefully Leslie will just do a phone call and I'll put her on speaker. And
let's hope she gets in.
But for you, even before we get to the Chicago shows that you do and that you do every weekend and stuff, how's we don't really talk to you about this. How's Chicago been? I mean, everybody's thinking the July 4th parade, most fucked up thing ever.
Oh, that's Highland Park. That's pretty far up north of Chicago. When you talk about Chicago, Highland Park, that was a whole separate thing. And the thing about Highland Park is it is a safe community. It's very family oriented, but you would never consider that Chicago. Very North Shore, and that makes it even more shocking.
When the Nazis marched in Skokie, Illinois, like 40 years ago,
but Skokie is in a different direction. Skokie is northwest, and that even has a different feel to it.
Right. Okay. But I mean, what is all we hear about us New Yorkers, or anybody who reads or glances at the right-wing papers, is that Chicago's just become no man's land. Do you feel that way?
Oh, well, yes and no. I mean, I had got tickets. I go to a lot of theater here, and I'm getting a lot of comp tickets because producers want to fill the seats, and if they can't sell the tickets, they're giving them away.
Oh yeah,
so
that happens in New York too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I got a couple comps to go see Six, the musical.
Okay.
And I went with a friend of mine, and we parked on Wabash, which is a street very close, about 2 blocks from the theater. And it was dead downtown. I mean, it was on I want to say maybe on a Thursday. And I was really surprised how that was. Meanwhile, restaurants are packed.
I've seen that in New York too. When I would pass by restaurants and just people eating and carousing or whatever.
Right, restaurants are packed. Movie theaters, I went to see Downton Abbey on a prime night when it had just opened in Chicago, and there were 11 people in the movie house. 11. Yeah.
So the COVID thing, it isn't a crime. It isn't the shooting and the crime thing. That's what I was referring to.
I think it's more. Well, I was going to say more crime than COVID, but I still think COVID's an issue. But I got hired to go up to Huntley, Illinois, which is about 90 minutes away, something about an hour away, let's say, to do a performance. And they could not pack. It's a retirement community, the Del Webb kind of upscale retirement, and they could
your
not.
phone or mine, by the way? Is that?
I think that might be mine. I'm gonna turn it off. And they, unless it's Leslie, I don't think Leslie's calling me.
She has your contact. Maybe she's calling you because.
No, she's not. No.
Okay.
But she does have my number. No. But they could not fit another chair in the room. It was 385 packed seniors mostly to see me. So to me, that indicates it's not COVID, that people don't want to come into the downtown because there's this
also,
fear.
all those people, if they survived COVID 2 years ago, it means they either got it or they're just ready to die. So they might as well.
They want the entertainment. I mean, they do want to be entertained. I've been booking my shows at other venues. I just sent out a whole bunch of contracts so that people want the entertainment, and I'm happy to get those. But yeah, it's tough to get people to come into the city. My son saw Weird Al last night at Chicago Symphony, about 2/3 full. I saw just a couple weeks ago at the Chicago Symphony as well. They did the score to the third Star Wars of the original three, The Return of the Jedi, and I maybe half to 2/3 full.
Well, I mean, it's the third Star Wars film. It's not like.
But it is the CSO performing John Williams' score, and it was amazing. And we got, and again, it was a comp ticket. I got a comp ticket, and that ticket was $125.
Whoa. Well, can I ask you? And then somehow we'll either start the quiz with just you, because.
Ask me anything. Is this part of the quiz? How much crime is there in Chicago? Well, more than there used to be.
Let me.
But yeah. But I work out of the Greenhouse Theater Center, and it is in a very happening neighborhood. Lots of people. There's a great restaurant right next door. There's a parking lot a half a block away from the theater. I tell people, you can drive right up to the theater. You can eat right next door and have a fabulous meal. You can park a half a block away. It's reduced parking.
Is there a sense that things are going to get better, like with Omicron? I mean, right now Omicron is like this. A lot of people are getting it. But is there a sense of despair in terms of that and crime, or do they feel, or do they have to get rid of the mayor? I mean, what are people feeling?
People are very frustrated. I mean, especially the shopkeepers, because there's always crime people running in and stealing from the shops. That has been a problem for the past couple of years. I mean, the cops are overwhelmed. It's an issue. Is it going to be solved? And the other issue is that and it's largely kids, when these kids get arrested, they get released right away.
Same day. So, I mean, we have that in New York too, apparently.
And then 2 days later, they're at it again.
They're back at the scene. One of the people I work with was talking, I guess it's a story you must have read in the New York Post, of some guy who has 110 citations for shoplifting. And he's just back out. Because apparently there's a thing, if you steal less than $1,000, if you steal $999 worth of stuff.
It's a misdemeanor.
Really,
Okay. It's a misdemeanor, so you don't have to be, incarcerated.
Leslie Hoban Blake, are you on the phone here?
Oh, come on, Leslie.
Leslie, do you hear me? It's a phone call. It's a phone call. Leslie, are you there?
See if I can get her.
You have a speakerphone?
I do have a speakerphone. Yeah.
Leslie, all right, I'm going to hang up now.
Call her again. Just call her and put her on speaker.
This is unbelievable. I'm going to try it. Oh, isn't it great TV, folks? Oh.
talking about crime and movies and theater.
You're right.
But I will say I've been doing a lot of marketing this past couple of weeks for my new game show.
Oh yeah, this is. Are you smarter than your fourth
We're
grade?
getting good online reviews from people, but I haven't been able to get the reviewers out, which is kind of weird. I invited I got a couple some online reviewers came out, but
Yeah, you said
I
you got
haven't.
one very good. Hello, Leslie, you're there. How is it possible in 2022 that someone can't even take a phone call? Leslie, are you there? This is absolutely beyond belief. Leslie,
Okay, I'll keep talking.
video, even though
I can talk. I can talk for hours. Just ask anybody.
Thank God you can, because I have hours to fill here on this program. You're watching Dave's Gone By. I don't know why you are, folks.
Oh man.
Incroyable. Incroyable.
Um,
And she's not picking up. She's literally not picking up a telephone. Oh, this is classic. Okay, we're gonna.
It is kind of classic, isn't it?
Wait, hold on. Leslie, are you there? I got her answering machine. This is exciting.
Well, at least we know it goes through.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But even though I just said all of that, I did a lot of marketing this past week, and it helped because we have ticket sales for all. I have 4 shows this weekend. We have sales for each one, which is great.
Are you doing?
And
late night catechism? Right.
We're doing late night catechism, and Are You Smarter Than Your 8th grade nun?
8th grade nun. I keep saying 4th grade. I'm sorry, 8th grade nun. I have did.
And I'm doing the show tonight. I had a dinner last night, but in the audience were a group of nuns. So I'm going to contact them today and say, how'd you like it?
Really? You're going to do that? That's very.
Yeah. And I'll ask them to give me a little review so I can post that.
That's way cool. Well, you know what, Vicki? We're just going to play the. I'm going to try calling her one more time.
One more time.
And just see if that is absolutely ridiculous. Oh, I think I may have been calling her. On the, I wonder if I've been calling David's. No, that was her.
Does she have a landline and a?
I don't even know. Now this is a regular. This 2020. Alexander Graham Bell was 150. Leslie Hoban Blake, please. Jesus Christ, Leslie, it's a phone. It's.
We got her.
I mean, are you putting a string and attaching it to a Dixie cup? I mean, what?
Come on, Leslie. Get on.
I'm going to put you on speakerphone, Leslie Hoban Blake. Good morning, Leslie. Leslie?
Yes?
Yeah.
There.
Good to see you. Vicki Quade is here.
Hi, Vicki.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Well, obviously not doing well. I mean, I thought I was fine, but it's Saturday. We're trying since 10 of 10.
It's okay. I was outside in the garden and I realized, oh my God, what time is it?
Yeah, because Dave's Gone By is an afterthought for everybody but me.
No, it's not. It's not. I thought about it this morning.
I know.
And I can't get through on any of my non-working machinery.
Unbelievable. But anyway, I'm glad you're here, Leslie. Leslie, very quickly, how was your week?
Oh, it was very boring, thank you. I mean, I didn't do anything very much.
Yeah, okay. Okay, fair enough. Let's play the quiz. This is the Today, Yesterday trivia quiz that we do every week. Here comes the. It took 25 minutes to get to this. All right.
It's okay.
It is, right? Who cares?
We got a chance to talk.
20. It's questions, and this is going to be cool, Leslie, because it's going to be the girl versus the girl. We got girl on girl action here between Vicki and you.
Oh,
So
just the two of us.
Just us.
And it's going to be 8 questions plus 1 tiebreaker. So
all right.
We're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Boom, 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 boom. All right, let's do it.
Vicki, can I ask you kindly to pick a number between 1 and 6 and let me know what it is?
4.
4. Vicki with a.
I put mascara on today.
So did I. Live with it. Vicki with a 4. Leslie, let me guess. Wait, I'm thinking. What?
Go ahead, figure it out.
What number is it? Between 7 and 5?
It's 7 he is.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to roll a die. 3. 3. Oh, Leslie. Leslie, you're a lucky day. You get to choose. Do you want to be first or second?
Really, but go ahead.
Yeah, right. First or
Not
second,
so
Les?
far.
I'm sorry?
Nothing. I said not so far. Go ahead.
No, first or second. Do you want to be first or second?
Oh, I'll be second then.
Ah, okay.
Second. Well, okay. All right.
So Vicki,
Strategy.
with you, we'll tell that our folks who, if there's anybody still tuned in, that that we have these questions. There were 2 points apiece if you get it right. If you get it wrong, Vicki, Leslie has the chance to steal.
Mhm.
And
Wait, so I get her points if she. Wait, does it work? How does that? I forgot how this game goes.
So Vicki gets the first question. If you get it right, you get 2 points. If you don't, Leslie can try and steal. If she doesn't get it right, no points to anybody. Alrighty?
So Leslie, we're not doing the 3, 3, 3. We're doing 8 questions. That's it.
Yeah.
Correct. That's it. I got it.
And one tiebreaker.
Thank you.
And a tiebreaker.
So here we go. Vicki Quade, this first question is for you.
Okay.
The year was 1377.
Oh, for this I got up. Okay.
Well, you won't even have to answer this one. Maybe Vicki will get it right.
Maybe.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Vicky's first. I'm sorry.
At the age of 10, Richard II, or as his friends called him, Dick II, is crowned the King of England. Which of these was false about King Richard II?
Okay.
A, although he had Richard beheaded, the succeeding king, Henry IV, declared a whole week of mourning for the event. B, though an English king, he was born in France. C, when his wife Anne died, he was so distraught that he had the palace where they spent most of their time together torn down. Or D, when his wife Anne died, Richard waited 2 years and then married a French princess who was 6 years old.
Ooh.
One of these, only one of these, is false.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, it's interesting. He would have waited 2 years to marry somebody who was 6, but that's like, like a trick question. Maybe she was really 8.
But she had the body of a 9-year-old. So.
Maybe he wasn't born in France. Maybe he was born somewhere else. Oh, they're all kind of tricky questions, aren't they? Boy, I don't know enough about Richard. Sorry, Richard. And the mourning, a week of mourning. I'm going to say there was not a week of mourning. He had him beheaded.
So, is that you're saying that A is false about King Richard?
I'm going to say A is false.
Richard beheaded, the succeeding king Henry IV declared a whole week of mourning for the event. That's false.
I'm going to say that's false.
Okay. I got to get my chime. Well, Vicki, it is a good morning for you because you get 2 points.
Oh, that's okay. Good. Excellent.
Because here's the deal. Henry actually promised to spare King Richard's life, but then had to go back on it when he heard there were plans afoot to reinstall him on the throne. Instead, Richard was imprisoned, probably starved to death, but never heard from again. So he was not actually beheaded. He just kind of was something, died in prison or shot or whatever. And yes.
My problem with all of these kings is all I know is what I learned from Shakespeare.
Right.
And none of these questions were in Richard II, so I don't know.
I kind of did that to make sure that and Shakespeare isn't necessarily verbatim either. He'll change.
No, I understand that, but that's all I know. I mean, kids are raised knowing all this shit, but not us. So
all I know about Hamlet is what happened in the Shakespeare. But you try and find some books about him, his autobiography, nowhere.
Because he doesn't exist.
Went out of print in 1794, and just not. He did some graphic novels. Gone.
Gone. Nothing. Cookbook. There was that famous cookbook. It's gone.
Right. Yes. Ham from Hamlet. He capitalized on his name. Anywho. And by the way, King Richard was born in Bordeaux, so he was actually
He was French.
He was a froggy. Okay, Leslie, you are 2 points behind already. You can change that. But things can change. You can get 2 points if you get this question correct. It's another multiple choice. And In 1548, Leslie, La Paz, Bolivia is founded today, July 16th, 1548. This makes it the perfect time for some Bolivia trivia. I like the cute rhyming. Okay. Which of these is false about Bolivia? A. Bolivia's official name is no longer the Republic of Bolivia, but the plurinational state of Bolivia. B. Cuy, a local delicacy in Bolivia, is made from fried otter. C. Lake Pupo, once the second largest lake in Bolivia, no longer exists because it dried up. Or D. In order to reduce traffic fatalities, in 2001, the government sent out hundreds of trained crossing guards dressed in zebra costumes. One of these, only one of these, is false, Leslie.
Well, I know that John Oliver had a whole thing about zebras as crossing guards. I don't know if it was about Bolivia or not, but he had. If you watch John Oliver, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the its name was changed from Bolivia to the national state of Bolivia.
Let me read the question again, or the choice again. A. Bolivia's official name is no longer the Republic of Bolivia, but the plurinational state of Bolivia. True or false? B. Cuy, a local delicacy, is made from fried otter. C. Lake Pupo. Yeah, that's disgusting, but Lake Pupo is not. Lake Pupo, once the second largest lake in Bolivia, no longer exists because it dried up. Or D.
That has to be true because you would went to great lengths to find something that has the word "poo" in it.
I might.
I'm going to say the national dish is not fried otter.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, B. It's B. I'm going with B.
Well, Leslie, I would ordinarily say you oughter know better, but you did, and you got 2 points, and you are tied with Vicki Quade. Go, Leslie. Go.
Okay.
Nice.
By the way, do you know what cuy is, the national dish of Bolivia?
I'm afraid to ask.
It's not a national dish. I'm sorry, it's just a local delicacy. It's either roasted or fried guinea pig.
Oh. It's probably good. Better than otter.
The French eat horse meat. What are you going to do, you know?
Just so you know, Bolivia's real name is the plurinational state of Bolivia. They changed that in 2009. And the crossing guard thing is apparently still going on. There's the guys in weird costumes getting up and doing... They're not actually directing traffic. They're just being weird, funny people in costumes. But apparently keeping people apprised of be careful at crossing zones. So...
Yeah.
Well, one whole season on John Oliver had a guy dressed up in a zebra suit come in occasionally and run across the stage.
Well, I wonder if that was from Bolivia, if they literally saw the footage of that when this was first rolled out and that inspired them. But it's inspiring that we here at David's Gone By have a tie. We have, so far, first round goes to both Vicki and Leslie with 2 points apiece. Oh, the excitement. Oh, let me see if I can stump you guys, though.
Okay.
A little harder here. Vicki, this next question is for you. The year was excuse me, little COVID throat there, 1782. Premiering tonight in Vienna is Mozart's Singspiel opera Der Entführung aus dem Seraglio, the abduction from the Seraglio, which is set in a Turkish harem. Which of these is false about harems?
Okay.
A, don't tell this one to the nuns. A, the main reason eunuchs were castrated was to make sure any children born were legitimate offspring of the Sultan. B, the Abbott and Costello film Lost in a Harem used sets and costumes left over from Kismet. C, the word harem derives from the Arabic for forbidden. Or D, when Elvis Presley made the comedy Harem Scarum, he suggested that the producer hire Buster Keaton to make the gags funnier. One of these is false.
Well, that's a good one. That's a good question. I know.
Very much.
I think the first two, maybe the first two are correct. What was the third one? It was
the word harem derives from the Arabic for forbidden.
Yeah. I'm going to say it's the Elvis Presley one about Buster Keaton. I don't know why. It's false.
Is that your final answer?
It is.
Ow, ow, ow. Sorry, hold on. Ow. Vicki, you just stepped on my blue suede shoe. Ah, and you get 2 points for doing it.
Is that true?
Oh, I'm not
Excellent.
fooling anybody this week. Oh my God. Here's the true story. Here's the true thing about when Elvis made Harem Scarum. He thought it would be more of a serious romantic Valentino kind of. He took it very seriously, playing the Sheik. And then when he started making the movie, he realized it was just going to be a travesty and not very good. It was, and Colonel Tom Parker suggested. Do you guys know what this? Not no extra points, but you know what Tom Parker thought would make the movie more of a success and better?
No.
Not adding Buster Keaton, but adding a talking camel.
Oh.
It's the talking mule, and the
Poor
producer
Elvis.
fell for it. And
Poor Elvis. Tied to that guy for the rest of his life.
I didn't see the Elvis movie. Did you?
You've seen the new Elvis movie with what's his name as Colonel Tom Parker?
I haven't seen it.
Tom Hanks.
Oh, is it Tom Hanks?
You know
Tom Hanks plays Colonel Tom Parker.
was actually from some European country and had a European accent.
No.
He was German, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
I always thought he had a southern accent. He has this bizarre accent, and it's actually based on Parker's real accent.
Oh,
I
wow.
never knew what Parker sounded like, I guess.
Well,
No. You can go on YouTube. I did. I went on YouTube to hear his real voice, and no, I think Tom Hanks exaggerates it.
But of him really talking, and that's what he
No.
did with the character.
I don't think he sounded like that. I think Tom Hanks created that voice so that you would realize that Colonel Parker was
not
from
from America, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's fun for the
there are tapes of Parker talking.
Yeah, and he doesn't sound like Tom Hanks.
So Leslie, how was the movie?
All right, I'm confused.
Well, but Leslie, how did you like the movie?
How did I like what?
How did you like the movie?
I didn't see it. I only saw them talking about.
Oh, you wrote. Okay, cool.
Some show.
It's getting it just hit 100 million in sales.
You know?
It's the first non-superhero movie
Mazel.
in the past year to get over 100 million in sales.
Well, I've got to say, we have a friend, and this is not a joke. Mike.
Excuse me.
Oh, you
I just inhaled some coffee. Oh, dear God.
Gewalt.
She's all shook up.
Inhaled some coffee by accident.
I'll bring Rabbi Solin. You can both cough up phlegm together. It's me a mutual
Oh
thing.
God. Are you having a long COVID if you still coughing?
No, I have very little, just a little. Sometimes I'll have a little bit of a scratch in the throat, and or if I laugh, and it'll turn into sort of a wheeze. But that is that is nothing. It's no big. But you sound. Have you tested, Leslie?
I'm fine. As I say, I was trying to talk and drink coffee at the same time.
Oh yeah, don't you
That's
shouldn't.
the thing to do. I literally got it up my nose.
Oh well, there you go. What was I going to say? Oh, we have
You were telling a story.
My wife and I, little short one, just that. We have a friend who is absolutely not obsessed, but loves Elvis. She's Turkish, and she always Elvis had some Turkish, and he looks really Turkish. So she ran to see the movie, and she liked it quite a bit. So,
That's it. That's your story.
Yeah, it happened last week.
Wow.
Okay. All right, let's get on with the quiz because now Leslie,
Elvis was partly Jewish.
his grandfather, on his whatever side, yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a joke in there. I can't think of any. What were some of his famous songs there? What was?
Oh my God.
Jailhouse.
Jailhouse Rock, Teddy Bear. Don't.
Well, he did Jailhouse Locks. That was a good song, Jailhouse Locks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sure it is. Right.
That's right.
Their
There's no pressure on me.
And now falling in love with what? With bagels.
yeah. No, I dig it. Oy vey.
Hunka Hunka Burn in Love.
Oh, listen, Hunka Hunka Burning Prostate. He used to have when he was doing for the Jewish crowd. That's just what he did.
In the Ghetto.
That's right. In the Warsaw Ghetto.
There's the one in the ghetto.
Yeah. All righty, Leslie. No distractions here because you got some work to do now. You're 2 points again behind Vicki. And you have another multiple choice question coming at you. You ready?
Sure.
Okay, here it is. Again, July 16th, this day in history, 1880. Emily Stowe gets a medical license from the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario, making her the first female physician licensed to practice medicine in Canada. Which of these is true about Emily Stowe? Okay, only one of these is true. A, she once broke doctor-patient confidentiality by disclosing a patient's request for an abortion to the patient's employer. B, on her entrance exam, she received higher marks than any male candidate in the previous 10 years. C, she was a Unitarian, but later in life became a Quaker. Or D, before moving to the city and becoming a doctor, she and her husband ran a farm specializing in flowers and herbs.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's obvious that one would think that she would have gotten the highest marks. I can't imagine any woman telling an employer that another woman got an abortion. But who knows, in those days. And the third one, it's kind of interesting, I guess, the Unitarian to Quaker. It's only a half step from one to the other. So I'm trying to see I don't know. Well, of course, Quakers are pacifists, and Unitarians don't have to be. So that's
Well, that depends when Quakers are sowing their oats. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go with she got the highest marks in 10 years. I mean, it seems obvious, but.
So you're saying that is the only true thing about Emily Stowe, that on her entrance exam, she received higher marks than any male candidate in the previous 10.
I think it sounds nice. I hope it's so.
But that is your choice. You're going with
B is my choice.
B is your choice. Well, Leslie, Hope, and Blake, I'm afraid I have to mark you down for that answer. That is not. What are you feeling sad for, Vicki? You get to steal 2 points here. What do you think is the true thing of Emily?
Well, I think maybe she and her husband ran a farm with herbs. That makes sense. And then maybe she went into the medical field from there. So I'm going to say that's it. The final one, the last one.
Final one, the one about the garden with her husband. Is that your final answer?
It is. Probably wrong.
Well, flowers, herbs, for you, Vicki Quade, they're wilting. That is not the correct answer. I stumped the panel for the first time this Saturday.
Was she Unitarian?
Here's the truth about Emily Stowe. First of all, the correct answer is that she went through a trial for murdering a woman.
The abortion thing is correct.
She did. She was on trial not for disclosing the thing because it was a class thing, and she did that. But this woman died after ingesting stuff to make her miscarry from Dr. Stowe. But she was found out because the woman apparently intentionally took too much of it. It was not a poisoning by the doctor. But yeah, she did disclose that confidential thing from her patient. Stowe was acquitted, by the way. And then in terms of the whole exam thing, she didn't have to take an exam. They used her life experience as a doctor practicing without a license and then granted her a license. So that was false or fake. And then she was a Quaker and then became a Unitarian. So we flipped the script on that. And then finally, she was trained early on when she was taking medicine in herbs and homeopathy. She was very much into that. But her husband, she didn't have like an herb or flower farm. Yeah. She was just very conversant.
Does that explain why Canada has free health care? Because they don't make people take tests?
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, I mean, it's like...
You just look up and say, hey, I want to be a doctor, and they say, sure, here.
You hang up a shingle, and then, pay, just come on in. If you have a couple of bucks, I'll take it.
It's trial and error, right?
Oh,
you get it right. That's it.
Yeah, I want to practice medicine in Canada. Sounds like fun. Anyway, what is fun is that we have a a today yesterday quiz. We're about halfway through now. Vicki, you are leading by 2 points, but Leslie, you are only 2 points away. It's anybody's game as we move into round 3 of the quiz.
Wait a minute. What is the actual score? She's leading by 2 points, but what's
4-2.
4-2.
4-2? Okay.
4-2.
I just wasn't sure.
Sure.
Sorry.
Absolutely. We're playing, by the way, it's 11 o'clock. It's the Dave's Gone By show, our 858th episode. What are we calling it? Oh, we're calling it So Much More in honor of our guest a few moments, well, half an hour ago, Jim R. Moore. Go get his book, Don't Miss This, but don't miss the rest of this program with me, Dave Lefkowitz Potatoes, and the game that we are currently playing with Vicki Quade of Chicago Theater and Leslie Hoban Blake of the video podcast show Two on the Aisle. Well, Vicki, are you ready to try and build
I am.
on your lead? Here
Yes.
we go. The year was 1935.
Okay.
Today, July 16th, a day that will live in infamy in Oklahoma City when the world's first automatic parking meter goes up on a city street. Which of these is false about those meters? Okay, or about parking meters in general? A, the first ever parking ticket went to a church reverend. B, New York City didn't get parking meters until 1951. C, the most expensive street meters in New York charge $5 for the first hour and $3 for the second hour. Or D, in Las Vegas, the original meter maids were dressed in skimpy outfits on the assumption that angry drivers wouldn't assault them. Believe it or not, only one of these is false.
Oh, it's false. You know what? I'm gonna say it's the $5 an hour or whatever. That is so cheap. I was at a meter in Chicago recently, and it was $5 for 15 minutes. Yes, it was in a really, it was right downtown, but I had to run into a building, and I was like, 15 minutes.
Shows you how old I am. And I remember literally my parents
Yep.
putting in a quarter for an hour and whatever. Well, actually, let me. Is that your final answer?
It is. Yeah. It just doesn't seem right to me. But
Wow. Well, Vicki, you've been watching your parking meters, as Bob Dylan would say. That is the incorrect answer. But no, I mean, I thought maybe $1 an hour is what a meter is now, or else you go into a garage.
oh no.
I was so shocked by this. Leslie, do you have any idea what New York parking meters are now? In certain places.
I've never driven a car. I mean, other than my driving test that I failed.
Okay, let me guess though. Let me guess. Based on Chicago. I'm going to say, just based on Chicago, that it's about $10 to $12 an hour in Chicago. My daughter just parked somewhere and it was $17. But she was in a.
You got that right?
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that right. I'm going
to
to say in New York, a parking meter for an hour.
The highest, the most expensive zone to park in New York.
$20
per hour. Wow.
For an hour.
Oh my God. You know, the government,
I'm just guessing.
would be very happy to hear from you, Vicki. No, I was shocked at this. It's not $20. It's the thing that really shocked me is that it's $4.50 for the first hour. Only, I'm saying now only,
My
but
God,
only.
so cheap.
And then the next hour is $7.50.
That's so cheap. That's less than Chicago. We would consider that like a bargain in Chicago.
Their cars, then you make this very, very high.
No, but I honestly, I still thought that parking meters were like 25 cents for half an hour or something.
That I knew, but
No.
I have friends who drive, and they tell me that they've got to run back down to the car, but I never ask them what it costs.
That's bad. You might as well pay if you're going to park for 5 hours, you might as well pay the ticket.
And
You know.
you might as well go into a garage.
Well, that's
So
it.
they come around every hour and issue another ticket.
God.
You
Anywho,
can issue more than one ticket for the same.
can we?
Yes, you can. Yeah, and you will. I've seen that.
I didn't know that either.
Multiple tickets because you've left your car there for 3-4 hours.
But isn't it wonderful that it's actually true that when the meter maids first came to like places like
They were skimpy.
Vegas, they were like sexy little things because
Oh, I believe that. The heartbeat. That one I got, I believe.
Wow. Wow.
I'll tell you a little something in Chicago.
Yeah.
So the meter maids, the story, my brother, who is now since passed, but he was a retired Chicago cop, he would say, go get a box of M&Ms, and put the box of M&Ms, like, you know, the nut ones that come in a box, and leave the box on the dashboard. So the meter maids, when they come by, will see that and realize that you're a member of the police family.
What?
And they wouldn't give you a ticket. And the only reason I know that's true is because I took my kids to see one of the blockbuster movies one time, and I parked on Ohio in Chicago, and the movie ran longer than what I had paid for. And I thought, no, I'm going to get a big fat ticket. Ticket. My car, no ticket. Ticket.
Really?
How old
Why,
now?
Why don't they just have, don't they just have a badge or something they can leave in the
Yeah.
You can't leave a badge because that's against, they have to keep their badges. But
Actually, this is against the. It's a wink cop thing. They're supposed to.
It's a wink cop thing in Chicago. That's right.
Is it still or apocryphal? Or going back, how many years was this?
No, not too many years. I bet it is
Always
still.
drive with a box of M&Ms on your dash. Always, wherever you go.
Well, in Chicago, when you're parking.
Yeah.
So the meter maids, but some of them, they don't care. They're just like, everyone's angry in Chicago.
Wow.
Wow.
Any other cop tips for Chicagoans?
No, I do, but no.
I mean, anything black people should know so they don't get shot, you know?
Give away all the secrets, Vicki. Go ahead.
Wow, that's what an amazing thing.
Yeah, the meter maids, M&Ms.
See, you learn a little. There's a little trivia, right? That may be the answer to a trivia question, years from now. It's like, oh, we learned that. No, here's the deal. We have one more question in our third round of today, yesterday. Leslie, it's 6-2. So you have some.
Come on, Leslie, you can do this.
We have a question for you that's worth 2 points. July 16th, 2004. It's not a good thing. Martha Stewart is sentenced for 5 months in the pokey for tax evasion. Which of these is false about Martha Stewart? A, she once dated Sir Anthony Hopkins, but got creeped out because she couldn't stop thinking of him as Hannibal Lecter. B, she is the first self-made female billionaire in history. C, when she was young, she babysat for the children of Yogi Berra. Or D, 3 items are absolutely banned from her fridges, both at work and at home: buttermilk, liverwurst, and pickles. Which of these is false?
I know one of these to be absolutely true. I've read it many times. It's. I won't say which one.
Yeah, she wants her points there. She's not going to give one to you, Vicki. Yeah.
But as far as the rest of them go, I'm going to say wrong.
I'm sorry. What?
I don't think that she sat for the children of Yogi Berra because she lived in. She lived in. I think she didn't live in New York, and I think Berra lived out on the island. I'm going to say C.
You're going to say C. It is false that when she was young, she babysat for the children of Yogi Berra.
Yeah, no doubt she sat for somebody's children, but I don't think they were Yogi Berra's children.
Final answer?
Yes.
Hey, Yogi Leslie, you just made a boo-boo. I'm afraid that is not the correct answer, Leslie.
Okay. All right.
She babysat not only for the kids of Yogi Berra, but also of Mickey Mantle. So,
Oh, wow.
yep, honest to gosh. Vicki, you have
Okay, so I'm thinking it's either the billionaire or the items that are forbidden in her refrigerator. Is she the first female billionaire? Because I know that there are other really famous.
I have to say, first self-made female billionaire.
Oh, self-made. Okay,
self-made female billionaire.
Okay. Then I'm going to say it's the items in her refrigerator. I'm going to say that those 3 items are not banned.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Well, the light is definitely on in your fridge, Vicki Quade. You get 2 more points, bringing you to 8. Yes, the correct answer
Vicky,
is
you are on fire.
I'm on fire.
rocking it, rocking it.
Holy cow.
Fire.
The thing is that those things are kind of her guilty pleasure snacks. She likes
Yeah.
buttermilk from the carton. She'll no problem with liverwurst, and she likes pickles too. She has that.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
taste
I
for
thought I
that.
remembered something about her eating liverwurst one time in a talk show. She talked about that. So.
Hopkins has to be retired now. Everybody knows that.
I don't remember. But yeah, she did. And, you know, they got along great. But every time she started to think of him in like a romantic way, she just kept remembering like, you know,
Where's the Chianti?
Yeah, yeah. So here's the deal. Vicki Quade, you have 8 points. Leslie Hoban Blake has 2
Vicky
points.
Quade has essentially won the game.
Vicki, even more than essentially, Vicki Quade has won the game. But we continue the game, if you guys don't mind. We have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
One more round, and then a pointless tiebreaker. But, you know, this day has gone by. It's literally pointless from beginning to end. So Vicki.
No. I think, oh, it is me next.
Next.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Okay.
doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Oh, yeah.
So Vicki, you can still add on to your point total. You can. It's like when you have college basketball or football teams, and one is really so much better than the other, and they run up.
It's a slaughter rule.
80-3. This can be your more moment to run up points on Vicki on Leslie Hoban Blake.
Okay.
But you've got to be on the ball to do it, because guess what?
Oh, 3 clues in the news. I'm not going to make this. I'm just not going to do it. But go ahead.
Let's explain to the home viewer, all 2 of them, that the 3 clues in the news are 3 words that are connected, but they're not connected to each other. Each individual word is connected to a word that we're looking for. It could be blank word or word blank, like if we do, and I'll just give a little example here. Oh, here's a different one. I just did this one. Spider, shines, pox. You might come up with, this is not the one, but spider. Huh? Could be chicken, or it could be another animal.
Monkey.
Monkey shines,
Yeah.
monkey, spider monkey, and monkeypox. So there you go. So that's monkey is the word we're looking for. And the word is going to have something to do with something that's been in the news and current events in the last few days.
2 weeks ago, if you'd asked that, I would have said chicken, because we didn't know what monkeypox was.
Yeah,
Right.
And now we're getting vaccines in New York. They're making them available for monkeypox.
Get it. Get it. If they make it, get it. Science is good.
I'm not against. Well, I'm against vaccines because they hurt. I'm not against them.
For 2 seconds, not even 1 second.
I know. I'm a 1 second owing me, a neurotic Jew, is a horrible thing. That I'm scarred for weeks.
Ugh,
I'm sorry. I'm a neurotic. Okay,
you're a baby.
Yes, I am. I'm a 50. Have you watched this show? You know that you're talking to a 58-year-old baby, with coprophilic tendencies. I mean, come on, this is me. All right. Vicki Quade, 3 clues in the news.
Okay.
Necrophilic something? What was that?
Poop. I love poop jokes. As you well know. Number 2, poopo. Here we go.
Okay.
The words are fish, beating, house.
Beating, like a beating?
Beating, yes.
Beating a drum. Drum fish, house, drum house. I don't know. It could be drum, beating a drum. Fish. There's a drum fish. Fish house. Fish house and beating. Eggs.
Eggs or egg or
Let's
egg?
say eggs. I know it's wrong, but beating eggs. Okay.
Final answer?
Yes, sure, it's wrong, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm afraid the yoke's on you. That is not the correct answer. Leslie Hoban Blake, do you have an idea of our 3 clues?
The only thing I could come up with was boat.
Boat. Houseboat. Beating boat. Boat beating. Beating doesn't fit there.
I know it doesn't, but that's all I could come up with.
Final answer, Leslie?
Yeah, it's wrong, but that's all I
Uh.
was thinking about. I was thinking about the accident on the Hudson River.
Oh, I can see where your mind would want to go towards that.
Hmm.
No, I'm afraid I've stumped the panel this week. You're gonna probably kick yourselves on this one.
What is it?
We're fish, beating, and house, and the word that goes with all of those is wife.
Fried. Wife. Fishwife. Beating.
Wife beating, of course.
Wife beating.
And housewife.
Housewife. Oh.
Because of Ivana, is it?
Ivana Trump.
Yeah,
Ivana
sure.
died at the age of 73.
Okay, now
Push down those stairs.
I sent this out as an email, as a text. I think, do any of you listen to the murder mystery podcasts and things?
Not really. But...
And I thought someone pushed her down the stairs right away.
Really?
Okay, well, yes, okay.
She did, only because she knows about the family finances.
But this is just a distraction.
Yes.
Depositions coming up of the whole Trump family. I believe that they all put a hand on her back and pushed her down together, like in an Agatha Christie story, and they had pulled straws and she got the short straw.
That's right.
The Murder in the Building podcast, which is a joke,
right.
and a murder podcast, and maybe another staircase podcast. There's a podcast called The Staircase. That's my
Poor Ivana.
Yeah, are you joking though? I mean, I can't. First of all, they have enough money; they could hire someone.
I think they actually all got together and pulled straws to see who was gonna do something to make a distraction against them having to be deposed on Thursday.
Well, but there's distractions and there's.
You know, he said he could shoot somebody in the face on Fifth Avenue and get away with it.
He did say that.
He did say that, yeah. Well,
she died of blunt trauma to her torso.
Extrapolate from that. They are all going to be deposed, except Ivana.
Well, but how do you die of blunt trauma to your torso? I would assume you fall, you hit your head, boom.
Your head, or I don't know.
Breaks and bleeds. What, a torso?
They each kicked her down a different part of the stairs.
Maybe. No, I'm sorry. I figure you get a bruise, right? Who dies from a bad torso bruise?
I feel sorry for her, though. You know, she was only 73, which sounds like old 73, but, 73 is not that old these days,
Well, it is for Donald.
It's not old. I mean, not these days, as you say. No, I don't feel sorry for her. I mean, she was 100% behind Trump all the time.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Well, he wasn't president then.
Got divorced.
Yeah.
All during his presidency. And she said, I didn't like to call the White House because I was afraid that it might upset Melania. And after all, I was the first wife, so that makes me the first lady.
The first lady, she said, yeah.
Wow.
She said things like that. So
right.
I have no, but I don't want to speak ill of the dead.
Well, you just did, but okay.
Oh,
I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but
God forbid,
Oh, that Hitler. He just, I don't want to say anything bad about Hitler, but really, the architect of the Holocaust. But he's dead. I don't want to say bad things. Anywho, here's the deal. Vicki did not get 2 more points, but neither did Leslie. So, Leslie, we have a question for you. Let's see if we can add 2 points to your 2.
Sure.
And
I added my monumental score of 2.
And I don't know why. Is it me or does this nostril look amazingly red? There's no reason for it. I'm fine. Vicki can.
Tiny bit, yeah.
No reason. No, I think it's just the lighting.
It looks red to me.
See, this is just a distraction. Yeah. Leslie's on the phone there. So, Leslie, this question is for you, and guess what?
Is it 3 clues?
It's another 3 clues in the news. Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Only fair.
Come on, Leslie, you can do this.
Only
My
fair.
favorite thing. Okay, go ahead.
Here we go. These 3 words, we're looking for another word, something related to something in the news. Stock into goose.
Goose.
Give me a second. I'm just thinking.
Sure.
Silently for once.
Stock into goose.
Yes.
We had Garfield Goose here in Chicago when I was a kid. It was a character, it was a puppet.
Oh.
Yeah. Everyone loved Garfield Goose.
Garfield. This was before Garfield became a cat, and then it had the surgery. And
That's right. That's right. The trademark. Sorry, can't have the goose any longer. Garfield Goose didn't talk, but he talked by the hand puppet. The great thing is that he would smack and go like this, and it was great. I know I'm not making it sound good, but it was.
One day the ventriloquist just say, "I think I'll put a sock on my hand and go like this.
That's right.
I'm going to become famous."
Vicki, you're not old enough, and David, I don't know that you are either, but you remember Kukla, Fran, and Ollie.
I do.
Oh, I do, and I remember this guy. Like Starlight. What was his name?
That was
You
Yeah.
you think what wasn't popular and what made it years ago.
I'm stuck here. I'm stuck on stuff.
I can't.
I don't have anything here.
Okay, wait. Into goose
And stock.
stock.
Right.
Come on, Leslie. Into goose stock.
Well, you guys are still talking, so I'm having trouble thinking.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I don't mean to be.
Hey, want to see David Mamet and his sock puppet?
Real antipathy for them.
That's right. Stock. Stocks went down.
Well, wait.
Stocks
Vicki,
down.
this is Leslie's question still.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
trying to help her. Goose down. Stocks
Oh,
down.
gracious winner that you are. Okay.
But it doesn't fit into down into.
All right. The only two words I can think of that have anything to do with anything are soup or shell, and neither of those is correct. So, I give up. Stop. I'll just say soup.
Leslie, going with soup. Is that your final answer?
Yes, because as I said, I only have two choices: it's soup or shell.
Well, I'm afraid we've spilled the soup on that. I mean, the only weird part of that, Leslie, is I was literally doing a monologue about soup when I started the show. So it's just strange to hear that. But it's not the correct answer at all. But Vicki, doesn't seem like you're doing much better either.
No. I mean, I did think of down, but it doesn't fit into the word into. Goose.
Good, actually.
The goose egg, goose, wild, into is the tough one. Stock. Oh, I see. Soup stock. That's why you said soup. I was wondering why.
The only one that came.
Stock. Take stock. Take into. Take goose. Take. I'm just gonna say down. I know it's wrong, but it's the only thing that fits two of them.
Down is actually pretty good.
That's not it.
I mean, it's
What
not.
is it?
So it's because actually down into is a decent phrase. It could be all through stock down, but no, that's not the word.
What is it?
I will give you a hint now that both I've skunked both of
Potato.
you.
Oh no.
No, it's not. Has to do with our president.
Biden. Joseph. Catholic.
Well, it has to do with something that he did this week.
He fell down.
Stage.
He went to Saudi Arabia,
And
and he did a fist bump.
he did a what?
Fist bump. Bump stock. Into.
Bump
Bump into. Bump into.
Bump into.
And goosebump.
Goosebump. Oh, that's a good one.
Fist bump. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Because of the
That's a
fist
good
bump with the murderer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really, yeah, okay, wow.
It was a tough one, but it was a good. You gotta admit, Les, that was a good one.
That was good.
That was good.
Thank you so much. Okay, here's the deal. Our champion Vicki Quade with 8 big points over Leslie's miserable, terrible 2 points. But
Miserable, awful, horrible too, yes.
But here's the deal where you can both. Well, you don't have to redeem yourself, Vicki. But Leslie, we still have a tiebreaker that isn't really a tie.
Well, you can have Vicki hold it up, and then you can tell me to.
I have to get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
All right.
When I give a 3, 2, 1, Leslie, you say it, and Vicki, you hold up the paper, and I think that'll work.
Okay.
Let's see.
Because it is not a multiple choice. It's a question. And tell me when you guys are ready.
All right. I just have to get a pen. I think I got
Again,
it.
the
Okay.
tiebreaker doesn't count. Vicki has the crown. No question about that. But
Vicki has the crown. I will pass it to you, Vicki. I won last week.
Oh, I'm so happy you won.
oh, that's right. I think
Excellent.
they did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What is it?
The ceremonial passing of the crown, but after we do our tiebreaker. Are you guys ready?
Mhm.
Here we go. The year 1948.
Okay.
Born today in Panama City is this singer-songwriter whose music crosses pop, salsa, and Latin jazz.
Ooh.
As an actor and singer, he came to mainstream attention in his second film, Crossover Dreams, and he's also been featured in The Milagro Beanfield War, Cradle Will Rock, and TV's The Josephine Baker Story. Name this 9-time Grammy winner who's married to Broadway and cabaret star Luba Mason.
I know who this is, and I cannot think of. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah,
Isn't that the worst? You know
it's
it.
the worst. You're like, oh no.
You tell me when it's all right to say it.
Not yet. No, I'll read it again and give a 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I know this is wrong, but I'm curious now to get the right one. But go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Now, Leslie, don't say it, but are you ready to say it? You have your answer? Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Born today, July 16th, 1948, in Panama City, is this singer-songwriter whose music crosses pop, salsa, and Latin jazz. Excuse me. As an actor and singer, he came to mainstream attention in his second film, Crossover Dreams, and he's also been featured in the Milagro Beanfield War, Cradle Will Rock, and TV's The Josephine Baker Story. Name this 9-time Grammy winner who's married to Broadway and cabaret star Luba Mason. 3, 2, 1.
Ruben Blades.
Oh, it is Ruben Blades. I put Chick Corea.
Good
It
answer.
is Ruben Blades, though.
It is Ruben. Yeah, it is absolutely well done, Leslie.
Right.
Leslie, what gave it away? What made it click for you?
The movies that you named, Milagro Beanfield.
Yeah.
I knew Crossover Dreams for the girl in it, not for him, but I can't remember who the girl is now. Was.
Yeah, but that was really his first mainstream thing. He had one movie he did before, but then Crossover Dreams was got some attention.
Didn't he play Diego Rivera
In Cradle.
in Cradle? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And he has a lot more film credits, but I just grabbed those 3.
Yeah,
And well done, Leslie, Hoban, Blake, Ruben Blades, or he calls it Blades in America, Blades in other countries.
I've always heard of Blades. Really?
Yeah,
No, most people say Blades.
Really?
he was interviewed about that. On the talk show, he said Blades is just fine for even his family in America says Blades, but
Wow.
really should be Blades. But there you go.
I was just being funny when I did that.
Yeah,
I
and
say Ruben Blades too, on a daily basis, and I say his name on a daily basis. So.
there we go. Of course you do. And you know, Rabbi Sal Solomon, when he goes to Latin American countries, he has Blades control issues. So there you go. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Okay. Vicki Quade, congratulations. You have
Excellent. I'm so happy.
You have a show tonight. Tell people again.
I do. Yeah. I do. Yes, I'm going to be on stage with my new game show comedy called Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun? It's so much fun. Oh my goodness. And we had a really great opening weekend a couple weeks ago. So we're in our 3rd week. They go, well, it's scheduled for 3 more weekends and I have to decide whether to extend it. But if not, I've already been booking it elsewhere. So that's really nice.
Can I ask you a quick question? Because I'm back to not going to the theater. I don't know whether that was in the conversation earlier or not, but I stopped going when they took away the vaccination check, and then they took away the mask mandate in July. So I have been steadfastly not going, and the COVID rates are going up radically here in New York. And so we're putting up another, what do you call it, a super on our show saying, Leslie has been advised by her doctors not to go back to the theater at this point in time. And I've been asking everybody about whether people are wearing masks and whether you think it's affected your audience or not.
At the theater, they gave up the vaccination requirement, so you no longer have to show your Vax card. But while you're in the space, if you're not eating or drinking, you have to wear the mask.
Oh, really? Is that you have to?
At our theater, that's a requirement. Yeah.
What about the Goodman and Steppenwolf and places like that? What are their
I
policies?
don't know if they gave that up or not. Not that I heard, but it could be this week they may have, because I think the governor here, Pritzker, may have said the no longer have to have the mask. I will say I've lost business from people who said they don't like having to wear the mask indoors. But I've said, well, it protects us, protects the rest of the audience, and it protects the
And you
people who work
probably
at the theater.
gained a
It
lot of
protects you as
seniors.
well up on
Who,
the stage. And
yeah.
the thing is, I don't, here in New York, I don't know about Chicago, but here in New York, you don't know where people are coming from that you're sitting next to in a theater.
Oh my goodness, yes, sure.
Aside from whether they're vaccinated or not, you know, that you don't know where they're coming from. And is the COVID rate up in Chicago, or is it not?
It's gone up slightly, but not like crazy. But
as far as we know.
So it's gone up like crazy here in New York.
Yeah. And let me ask you, as long as I've got you, Vicki, I might as well. I've been saying all these negative things about Chicago, coming to the crime and the. But what's happening? Is it Victory Gardens? Something is in tumult over there. What the hell's going on with that?
Yes, yeah, it's just in tumult. That's exactly right. There are board members who are quitting, and the playwrights are pulling their shows, and it all has to do with the staff, some staff changes that were made, and people who were put on leave, and just a lot of angst. Not the first time that that's happened at Victory Gardens.
Who's the artistic director?
Ken Matt was the artistic director, and he was put on leave. Although I was told he quit, but then I was told he was put on leave. So, and then there just a lot of stuff happened after that. But you know what? It'll get resolved. I mean, something will happen. It's a really major theater company in Chicago. So, you know, growing pains and.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember that was Dennis Zajac.
Zajac, yeah.
So it was Dennis Zajac and Victory Gardens and stuff.
Right.
And then
Right.
to hear all this happening now to this major place is like, whoa, man.
Yeah. Well, the greenhouse where I'm at is the former Victory Gardens.
Oh, there you there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
so
there's no controversy there. Everybody go see Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun? And you're not
Late
doing
Night Catechism.
You're not doing Bible Bingo at the moment, are you? Or
No. I pulled Bible Bingo so that we could do the game show.
8th grade nun. So for a couple of weeks more, you got both of those, Late Night Catechism and Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade?
3 more weeks. 3 more weeks.
Greenhouse Theater in Chicago. Get your tickets at where?
I guess you could go online, or you could call 773-404-7336.
One more time. I missed the number.
773-404-7336.
And there's a website in there.
There is a website. It's Greenhouse Theater, or you can go to
Nuns for Fun. Come on, what the hell?
and nunsforfun.com.
Of
course, you can. The link is right on nunsforfun.com. Nuns, the number 4 fun.com.
Now, Leslie, I know we can't really say that you're going to be doing new episodes of.
Well, here's the deal. With, your review of Bedwetter went up last night.
Okay. The new musical by Sarah Silverman off Broadway, New York. Yeah.
It's on YouTube under Two on the Aisle, and you can put in Dave, or you can just put in Two on the Aisle Bedwetter, and David Lefkowitz will come up.
That's great. You put my name in Bedwetter.
That's the way that came out.
Won't be the first time.
It does come out, yeah.
And then tomorrow morning, Charles Wright, Diane
Snyder,
thank you. I blanked on her last name. Diane Snyder and Isa Goldberg will each be reviewing with Charlie, and I'll be hanging around because one of them's doing Richard III and one of them's doing Hamlet, and I know those plays, so I can ask sensible questions. The third play is Epiphany, which I did not see.
So I think it's good. I think you can kind of stay in the loop and contribute. This is why I said to Charlie, that's the only way I would do this. You know, I get to introduce them or something. I mean, I'm still the co-producer. I still write the copy and whatnot. So, you know. And I told Charlie you can interview people. You can still do.
Charlie came up with the funniest thing. I mean, wait, I'll read it to you. Hang on a second.
Oh yeah.
While you're doing that, speaking of funny, you guys haven't commented on the changes at Funny Girl.
Oh,
Sorry.
getting on that. In my Inside Broadway segment in a couple of minutes, we'll talk a little about Funny Girl and Paradise Square and Into the Woods on Broadway as we speak.
Into the Woods may stretch because they're screwing over another show.
Well, piano lesson, right?
Yeah, you're going to talk about
Well,
that.
yeah. So, but Leslie, what was the funny thing you were gonna share?
I wanted to read you what Charlie said, but I cannot get the two screens up. Anyway,
Leslie having technical trouble? I can't imagine.
I told you what I wanted the super to say, and he said, how about something like, Leslie isn't going to the theater right now, but the rest of us are braving it, so she doesn't have to, or something.
Or something, yeah.
Limp out. Leslie is wimping out. That's what he said.
Oh.
Leslie is
Wimping.
out.
Well, you're entitled, Leslie. Even if you hadn't.
Entitled or not, I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
that's the way that goes,
So, but either way, I hope you still keep taking part in a big way in Two on the Aisle, which people can watch on your YouTube channel, Two on the Aisle. Plus, it's on Manhattan.
Or on MNN if they're in New York on MNN on Spectrum and golly, I forget whatever the other.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear you say Spectrum, I think of Speculum. I think it's the worst name for like a cable.
Your mind goes, Dave. That's where your mind goes.
It does. It does. Well, my mind.
I can't help that. Hello, Joyce.
Oh, yeah, actually,
Hello,
Joyce
darling.
is visiting her parents this Saturday, so she'll have turked out early in the morning. She's not with me today. That's why I've got potatoes here, and a whore in the basement who's gonna service me after the show. But before that time, I'm just filled with gratitude for our great, wonderful guest, Vicki Quade. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I was a little bit late.
And Leslie, who's.
How dare you be a little bit late?
I was on the garden. I was in my garden and I was like, oh my God.
Hey, Vicki, that's my thing. Come on.
Now, Leslie, especially, I will let you know, I'm not sure if I'll be I might be taking a little vacation from the show for a couple of weeks. I'm not sure if I'm even doing one next week. I might, or I might not.
Just let me know for sure. That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to get up. I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. But it's great to have you. Great to have you both on the show. And most happy weekend and health and continued good things.
Where will you go if you take a couple of weeks off?
Well, I don't know what you'll do. You can sleep late, Leslie. You can actually get maybe. Oh, I don't know. How about getting a new fucking telephone?
I'm asking you what you're gonna do. Were you gonna go somewhere?
Yeah. But there's stuff going on that I'm not talking about on the air yet.
Sorry. Never mind.
Yeah, it's good stuff, but it's stuff. So
can you run like the best of and run an old episode or something?
If you want to watch an old episode, all you got to do is go to davesgoneby.com and.
I mean, I know that, but can you can you run it?
I don't know if you can live. I would have to physically go on, load up a video. No, it would have to be a video in real time, and I have to point the camera at it. I guess I could share screen live and roll up a video, but why? You want to watch a show? You want an episode of Dave's Gone? Yeah.
Because of the groundswell of your many fans, so we'll say, "Where's the show? Where's the show?"
Yeah, that's it. And maybe I will be back next week. It all depends on how much time I have this week to deal with the stuff that we're doing. I will.
Okay?
So.
You take care, Vicki. It was lovely to lose to you.
And shout out also to David Sheward, whom, if we all
David.
I hope he'll be back. But see you guys real soon. Congratulations.
Okay.
Winner, Vicki. Have a great weekend.
Stay well.
All right. Take care.
And Leslie, I'm going to hang you up on the regular telephone. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is Dave's Gone By. It is, oh my God, it's 20 to noon already. With Joyce gone and other, I thought, how am I going to fill 3 hours today? And now I'm like, oh God, how am I even going to get done in 3.5 hours? We're going to try. Because we still have more stuff to do on Dave's Gone By. As we mentioned, Inside Broadway, I've got news and a review of a Broadway show. Plus, we have our Greeley Crimes and Old Times. Plus, our Colorado Limerick of the Damned coming up. So much cool stuff. You know what? Since Vicki's a theater person and Leslie's a theater person, and we're in a theater mode, why don't we go straight or keep on with the theater here on Dave's Gone By with our Inside Broadway, a segment. Inside Broadway, a look at theater in New York, Colorado, and beyond, brought to you by TotalTheater.com and Performing Arts Insider, the Bible of Broadway. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, diddle-doo, diddle-doo. So inside Broadway we're going to go, because even though they've removed the mask mandate, and even though I had COVID 2 weeks ago, I tested negative, and I'm like, I didn't want to miss this particular show, a revival on Broadway of Into the Woods. I'm going to get to it in just a couple of minutes after I give you a little bit of Broadway news, just so you feel like you're an insider of the Rialto, because I've been a theater critic for almost 35 years now. I'm a published and award-winning playwright, and I've directed and I've acted and done all sorts of stuff, and been a theater journalist for many, many years. So yeah, I love to follow Broadway and share with you. For example, got the news that musical, we mentioned it before, that Larry Kerwin co-wrote the musical Paradise Square, that has just been troubled from the get-go, starting, I guess, with its producer, Garth Drabinsky. Garth, this major movie theater chain mogul and then theater mogul from Canada years ago, put on these lavish, really well-produced shows, except he was paying for them by cooking the books and not paying people. So he literally did jail time years ago, paid his dues to society, and then eventually managed to get a show again back up on Broadway. And it's the musical Paradise Square, which, by the way, I did see. By the way, it was not boring. It was entertaining. Parts of it were quite good. Parts of the book were kind of prosaic and could have used some work. There's one incredible musical number in it. You all saw it on the Tonys. It was performed by Joaquina Kulakango, who won the Tony Award for Best Actress. Didn't help. Didn't help in terms of Paradise Square being able to stick around. It was doing very badly at the box office. The reviews were meh, and it had didn't really have a star in it at that point. It just had this serious, new American musical about some serious topics that are handled, in some cases, very intelligently, and in other times kind of glossed over, and there's just too much going on. It's not a bad music. Everybody wants to dump on it because of Garth Drabinsky. Everybody wants to dump on it because it's not an instant big hit. But let me tell you, it is worth seeing. You have 3 more chances to see it, today at 2, today at 8, and tomorrow at 3. The only issue is, not only was it not doing well at the box office, won the Tony for the actress, not for musical, even though it got 10 Tony nominations, got a little bit of a bump at the box office for a week or two, but not nearly enough. And then it was, the whole thing barely grossed over $350,000 a week on a good week. And a show like that needs a lot more than that to make its weekly nut. And people were wondering, is this guy printing money? The show has got to be hemorrhaging money. Where's it coming from to keep it? Because it's been on for a couple of months now. How have they been able to keep it going? And the sad answer is no. There's going to be a lot of actors out of work and musicians and designers after Sunday, when the show will close. They hope to run it as an open run. But more than that, now it's coming out of the woodwork, and Garth Drabinsky is being sued by the union, and he's being sued by the Scenic Artists Union for non-payment, not so much of salary. Everybody's been getting their salaries paid week to week, but there's pension stuff and stuff that's been supposed to be going into people's 401ks that they're saying he's been negligent on, or that hasn't been coming through. And so, the irony is, not really irony, I mean, we're talking about Broadway. We're talking about shows that cost millions of dollars to put up. And if you're lucky and you have a hit, a show that might be grossing $1 million to $2 million a week or more, depending on the show. Hamilton makes $2.5 to $2.9 million a week gross at the box office. Phantom of the Opera still can make anywhere from 800 to $1 million. And gross, not net, but still. Shows like that. Mormon used to make well over $1 million. Now they're probably in the 700, 800,000 range. So we're talking that kind of money. Drabinsky is being sued for things like $150,000 and $200,000, which, Lin-Manuel Miranda could just write a check and pay off the 401ks on this from 1 week of profit now from Hamilton. So that is kind of funny. It's not that I feel for Garth Drabinsky, not that he apparently isn't a jerk a lot of the times to deal with, and not that he hasn't cut corners that are not legal. But it's just kind of sad to me that you got a Broadway show, a musical, with a big cast that was operating and somehow staying open and paying people and making $400,000 a week. It has to close, and then he's going to run into trouble, not for being millions of dollars, whatever, not for having a flop like the producers that can't pay off the investors, but for a couple of $100,000 that he's had in order to keep the show going and rob Peter to pay Paul that he can't pay into a 401k. It's unfortunate. And I know people say, how can you feel bad for the guy? I do, because it's nice to have old school producers who will do what they have to keep a show going and is really not trying to hurt anybody. He just, nothing Drabinsky would have wanted more, like any Ponzi artist, would be for Paradise Square to make, $1.2 million a week. And then pay everything. No problem. Take it out of his pocket for a while just to keep things going, but it's not working out. If you're curious about Paradise Square and you want to see it, you can go to the Ethel Barrymore Theater on Broadway for 3 more times. And what Leslie is referring to is that something about, I don't want to talk out of turn because I'm now confused in terms of Into the Woods, but something involving the piano lesson, a revival of the wonderful August Wilson play, had to move theaters for things that are being juggled around, and I think Paradise Square is part of that too. I'm not sure. Anyway, I do want to say that, we'll talk a little bit about Funny Girl, and then we'll talk a little bit about Funny Girl before I get to the review of Into the Woods, because Funny Girl's in the news every week. It's amazing that people actually give a shit about Funny Girl. It's a second-tier, pretty enjoyable musical. I saw it. I enjoyed it. I saw it with understudy Julie Benko, who was fine in it. Ramin Karimloo, also fine. I kind of like the guy. They're recorded, by the way, if you have Netflix or Broadway HD, maybe. They recorded the British version of this before it came to Broadway. And again, they had a star who wasn't world-shaking, but she was very likable and very good in the show. And her Nicky Arnstein was terrific. I mean, like, best-looking guy ever, and just so smooth, and you knew immediately, like, wow, he's the perfect Nicky. He should have come to Broadway. He would have been great. Anyway, but if you want to see this Funny Girl and not have to go through the Sturm und Drang of seeing it on Broadway, and if it's going to be Beanie or her understudy, or finally starting in September, as you know, Leah Michele, who's been campaigning for this part for a decade, and then played a character in Glee who wanted to be Barbra Streisand, and now the real Leah Michele's getting a chance to be in the Barbra Streisand role in Funny Girl on Broadway. Just so much back and forth between the producers and Feldstein, and, because, if you don't know, her reviews were not wonderful. Some people liked her. Audiences really like her, a lot of them. And then a lot of the critics were very underwhelmed. They didn't say she was terrible. They didn't say she was awful. She was just mediocre. She didn't have the magic. She was amusing. She was cute. She was pretty funny. She didn't have the voice to knock home these songs the way Barbara you-know-who did. And they just held this against her from the very start. And when people come to pay $150, $200, $250 for a Broadway show, they kind of want and expect, send those songs into the stratosphere, not, oh, she was pretty good. Pretty good. You can pay $70 and see it off Broadway, right? So Feldstein felt slighted and sad by the reviews. Worse, when she wasn't nominated for a Tony Award for Best Actress. Funny Girl got skunked almost all the way down the line, even in terms of nominations. So she just was probably having a wonderful time the moment her foot hit the footlights on stage, and then a miserable time all the rest of it. So she kind of wanted to get out. And the producers at this point knew that their advances were drying up. The people who wanted to see Beanie Feldstein went to see her, liked her, but because the reviews weren't great, because she didn't have the awards, because the general talk about her was that she was mediocre, they were not going to sell that many more tickets for Beanie Feldstein. So they wanted to cut and run, but she wanted to make sort of a graceful exit too. It didn't work out that way. So there's tons of bad blood back and forth as to how long she was staying. She was supposed to stay till Labor Day or maybe longer. Then it was like, well, no, till September, and then till August, and now quitting at the end of July. Plus, for various reasons, including having COVID or being exposed to COVID and other things, and some days that she was entitled to off, she missed more shows than your average. I mean, Donna Murphy has perfect attendance compared to Beanie Feldstein. Just lots of shows. And she's missing again, apparently, because she has tonsillitis. Maybe she does. And if she does, I hope she feels much better and gets to eat a ton of ice cream, assuming she has tonsillitis. But yeah, it's just this cluster of getting between now and when she goes, and they can bring in early September. They're bringing in our friend of the Daverhood to play to play, is it Mrs. Straykosh or her mom? I think playing her mom will be Tova Feldshuh, taking over for Jane Lynch. Lynch, she was pretty good. I liked her line readings. I didn't like her so much on the songs. I think they'll do very well with Tova Feldshuh. I think she'll be great. And then, again, they will be bringing in, after a few weeks of trying to keep the ship floating, Leah Michelle. And then everybody's going to see, well, will she get the reviews? She's coming in there. She's got some bad will because apparently diva-ish behavior when she was doing Broadway and when she was doing Glee. But, she's gotten a few years older now, probably more mature. She's a Gleek. Everybody's a Gleek for her. They want to see her rock the songs out of the park and be funny and be Jewish. So we will see Funny Girl, how it goes in a few weeks when the whole thing passes into the distance and we get to see Funny Girl from a whole new lens. We shall see. Anyway, speaking of whole new things, of older things, on this past Thursday night, I went to see on Broadway at the St. James Theater the revival of Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine's acclaimed musical Into the Woods, which considered something of a classic, not, and I'll say this right up front, having heard the cast album several times, having seen the original Into the Woods, having seen the revival of Into the Woods, it is still not my favorite Sondheim piece musically. Well, let me tell the story of Into the Woods if you don't know it. It's about all these fairy tale-based characters who want something really bad, and then they have to go on a journey into the woods, literally and metaphorically, to get it. So you have characters in this kingdom. You've got a baker and his wife who want a child. Well, they haven't been able to conceive. However, the witch next door, who has cursed their household over something that the guy's father did years back, she says, you know what? If you get me these 4 things from the woods or from wherever, bring them back to me, I will make you, I'm a witch, I can do these things, I can make you unbarren and have a child. So they go off into the woods to find these things. Meanwhile, you've got Little Red Riding Hood wanting to bring goodies to her grandma. Going through the woods, into the woods to grandmother's house. She goes, except will she be waylaid on the way by a big bad wolf? That happens. Cinderella is in the mix. Cinderella would love to go to the ball that her wicked stepsisters and her mom are going to, but of course she's Cinderella. She's the Cinder Girl. They give her, lentils or something that she has to clean out of the fireplace one by one. And if you do that in 2 hours, you can come to the ball. No. So they treat her like crap, but will she get to the ball thanks to, certain other ways of things happening? Okay. Cinderella's in there. So is the prince. So is Jack from the Beanstalk. He and his mom are kind of in desperate straits. They have this desiccated cow that is done in puppet way, kind of almost a Julie Taymor-ish thing, or a Warhorse way of the cow being controlled by a puppeteer holding it, and it's very cool. It's very well done. So, but this cow is really literally skin and bones that they want to bring to market to sell for money so they can eat. So Jack's got to go off into the woods and sell a cow and get some dough. All of these things are happening. There's a narrator involved too, and Rapunzel is in there. So that's what happened. And the first act, I'm Into the Woods, is really mostly completely comic. It's literally about them just having misadventures, trying to find things, getting crossed up, getting one thing that the couple needs, like the red cape or the shoes, and then losing it and trying to find the other. We're seeing the relationship between the baker and his wife, where, they're a certain way when they're in their little house baking and poor and hemmed in, and then some things happen to them as people in the woods. He becomes stronger. She starts to explore other natures of herself. So that's in there too, even though it gets much stronger in the second act. So you've got all that going on. And then the second, Act 1, as a typical Sondheim thing, ends happily ever after. Or at least, it has a closure to it. But then, just like in Sunday in the Park with George, Act 2 moves forward. And there's other reasons now that they have to go back into the woods. And this time, things are not so simple, and things are not so fun. And real bad things happen, and they have to cope with that, with serious loss, with death, with destruction, with having to move on. And really the themes of the play have to do with all these characters. They're lovable, they're whatever, they're this, they're that. They're also very selfish. They lie and or cheat and or steal. They betray each other. And I guess towards the end, even though it's a little fuzzy, the theme of the show, the moral, is that you all kind of have to work together. You can't just be about yourselves. No one acts alone. No one is alone. If you want to survive an angry giant's wife mourning the husband that fell down the beanstalk because Jack went up there, and everything's tied in. It's O'Neillian, the way things tie in with other things. Then you better learn to get along and work together. And be there for each other and create new families when you lose your old one. That is essentially the story I'm Into the Woods. So it's complicated. Of course, it's brilliantly clever, courtesy of both Lapine for the book and Stephen Sondheim. The lyrics are, of course, Sondheimian lyrics. One of the reasons I'm not giving this 4 stars and saying run, run, run to see Into the Woods is, and I know it's this incredibly popular show for universities, for high schools to do, for regional places, because it's got all these roles. People want to see these characters. Musically, it's got a lot of, I wouldn't call it recitative, but a lot of da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I guess Sondheim, as he would be, was influenced at that point by rap and by having a lot of syllables and a lot of words and more than even in his patter songs from years back. Just almost song after song is more about the lyrics, and he's been accused of this for many of his shows, but I think it really hits home in this one, of being more about that and being musically thematic. So he'll run a certain theme over and over again throughout the show. And of course, it's catchy. Da 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 ba 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 is one, and then da 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 weaves its way through. But it's used again and again, and even the lovely ballads in the show, which are the ones that you tend to remember, kind of sound a little bit alike. I think they're supposed to. I think they're supposed to interweave with each other. So Children Will Listen and No One Is Alone are like two halves of the same coin. They're both lovely, but they're both almost the same song. And so I have to say, in terms of really being into a Sondheim musical, musically, as I am with Sweeney Todd, as we all are with Gypsy, which he co-wrote with Julie Stein, as we are with Company, oh my God, Company, as we are even with Sunday in the Park with George, which you might accuse of not having hummable melodies. Not true. This is one where, I started to feel like the criticisms of Sondheim are starting to stick. this idea that he could write a little more melodically and still keep the incredible lyric writing that he does. So that said, even in this production directed by Lyre de Bessonnet, and if I'm mispronouncing it and it's de Bessonnet, my apologies. You're watching it and you're into it, but at the same time, I'm still sort of standing apart from it and not feeling that invested in most of these characters. Right? I'm seeing, I'm chuckling along with them. It's sad, and of course, you've got to shed a tear when they sing "No One Is Alone," because even before Sondheim died, the idea of loss and conquering that, and with Sondheim gone, hearing that line, sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. It's like, oh, right. So it's a great moment, but not where I feel enveloped by the show itself. And it also doesn't help, and you can't really blame Broadway for this. This was an Encore's production. This started at City Center's Encores, which is this magnificent idea that they had 2 decades ago of doing shows with great performers and full orchestras, but, to save budgets and all this, and to be able to do it in brief runs and not go to Broadway, but for a couple of weeks. And just concert crowds come into City Center, and they see it and hear it, and they enjoy the score with very basic staging. Hardly any costumes, hardly anything. It's about the show. It's what York Theatre does with its musicals and Mufti series. So it was this incredible idea from Encores. But what happened 25, 30 years ago is that they did a little show called Chicago. And Chicago was such a smash and such an unexpected boom that, it was so good they brought it to Broadway, and it's still on Broadway. And nobody minded that there really isn't much of a set to Chicago. And nobody minded that everybody's in black leotards, because the score is incredible. It's a very snarky book that still works. And when it opened, my God, you had Anne Reinking and B.B. Newirth and James Naughton in there, and it's just the star power, and you were just happy to see it. If you missed it at City Center, oh, great, I can see this on Broadway. And then it's become, of course, a legend, right? Running so much longer than the original production. And Encores has since sent other shows to Broadway. Everything from, I think they did a Finian's Rainbow. They did, what else did Encores bring? They gave us the wonderful Patti LuPone, Laura Benanti, and Boyd Gaines' Gypsy from a few years back. But at the same time, Broadway prices, sometimes maybe, that they were cutting corners for City Center. Maybe they shouldn't have cut those corners completely for Broadway if you're making that move. Especially since Into the Woods is supposed to be a limited run. It was supposed to basically end in August. The reviews have been so splendid, and audience excitement has been such, and ticket sales have been such that they're just dying to figure out a way to extend it. And I think they will for a few weeks. So if they do that, then there's a chance to really make money. And if they thought of that from the beginning, maybe they would have made it a bit more visual. I certainly wish they'd done something else with a lot of the costumes. They seem to be of all different eras and all over the place, going from peasant clothing fine to steampunky outfits for the king's people, the prince's people. And it's kind of a little bit, thrown me here and there. Wasn't thrilled with the whole design of the show. At the same time, and I'm going to finish this review with a full disclosure piece. It was one of those times when I'm at the theater, and this happens, I wish it were rarely, but occasionally, where I'm watching the show and there's someone in my row, or perhaps in the row behind me or the row in front of me, who is loving the show to pieces, and God bless her for it. But she had this laugh, this laugh, and giggled at everything, louder and quicker than anyone else. And so you must have had, you've had to have people, you've been at a theater at some point, somebody was snoring, someone was rustling paper, someone was eating, somebody was talking, still on their cell phones, whatever. This is as bad as any of that, because you can't say to her, don't laugh. You can't say to her, oh my God, you're unbelievably annoying. You're destroying the show for me. Can you please just shut up? Because it's laughter. It was a legitimate human response coming out of her to a show she obviously loved, she obviously looking forward to, and that was obviously affecting her, that any little move, any little finger that someone would lift, or thing or line that someone would say, she'd be like, ah! And I wanted to strangle her, and then I wanted to strangle myself. So if that perhaps kept me out of the show in a way that if she had been a normal creature, I would have been more inclined to get immersed in the world, even though the world was represented by a few trees coming down and one vine, and that was pretty much the set design. I will ascribe it perhaps to that. Let me just say some of the things that I liked most about seeing Into the Woods, because first of all, Brian Darcy James was out with COVID. I didn't get to see him. His understudy, a fellow named Jason Forbach, was perfectly good. And I believed him. He had a couple of cool moments, but also he's not Brian Darcy James, and we'll leave it at that. Sarah Bareilles plays the baker's wife. She's basically the main role. Joanna Gleason did it many years ago in the original production. Sarah Bareilles, love her. Wonderful. I've never seen her before in concert or anything else. I didn't get to see Waitress. Instantly lovable, good singing voice, believed her as the baker's wife. She's definitely, absolutely the focal point, and she's terrific. And yes, worth seeing the show for her. Worth seeing the show, go figure this. The understudy, Little Red Riding Hood, because we had 3 understudies in last week when I saw the show. She was dynamite. I'm going to give her some cred here. Understudy Delphi Borich was her name. Seemingly, I think she's Asian, or partially Asian, whereas the regular Little Red is not. But she picked moments. She had a very definitive idea about her character. This is not a sweet and innocent Little Red Riding Hood. This is someone who first thing she does on stage is she's stealing pastries from the baker and his wife. And she just has a snarky, wonderful attitude. And yes, she even rocks her song, one of the best songs in the show, about going into the woods and encountering the wolf and coming out of it and realizing that she knows something she doesn't know before. And that's a little bit good and a little bit not. A little bit exciting and a little bit scary. Great song, great performance by this understudy. Yay, Delphi Borich. Also a great number from Gavin Creel as the Big Bad Wolf. He's got a surefire number in Hello Little Girl when he's planning to, have his meal of Little Red Riding Hood. He rocks it. He's also very good as the Prince Charming. Every time I think of saying Prince Charming, there's a great word or a great line in the second act of the show. And he said, hey, I'm supposed to be charming, not sincere. And he delivers it well, and it's a classic line in Into the Woods. So, there's also a really fine scene. Unexpected. And I like this. There's an actress there, you've never heard of her. Her name is Amy Garcia. And she plays Jack's mom. It's not a role you really think about too much when you're playing the cast album or thinking about Into the Woods. She is Jack and the Beanstalk's mom. And so she's this shrewish person through Act 1, and she's hawking on him, and this actress at least, a corpulent, middle-aged woman. Don't pay too much attention. It's like, oh, she's the mom, she's annoying, she's being mean to her son, she's overprotective, she's all this. And then a scene comes for her. I don't remember whether it's late in the first act or it might be early in the second act, when they're coming for Jack, because he's done something that led to the giant's death. And the actress, Amy Garcia, in this scene, suddenly there's another level here. There is a real desperate, sad fear of this mother that they're going to take her son and sacrifice him for the death of this giant. And she is just absolutely, you can see she's angry, terrified, desperate, scared, and she just, now, you know why they hired this actress to do it, because nobody's expecting that, and then suddenly it's like, oh, whoa, she's having a moment. That's good. You know, if there were more scenes like that in this Into the Woods, I think I would have been a little bit more into this Into the Woods. Anyway, I'm still going to give it 3 stars. Maybe if I hadn't had a crazy audience member whooping and laughing and giggling every second, I would have given it 3 1/4. But it is at the St. James Theater. Tickets they're available, but they're a little hard to come by because it's a very, very popular show. Keep checking if you can't get tickets, because it may now extend. We'll see, for at least a couple more weeks. But, I mean, it's Sondheim. It's Into the Woods. Of course it's going to be good. Of course it's going to be worth seeing. Do I wish I loved it? Yes. Did I love it? No. But it's Stephen Sondheim, James Lapine, Into the Woods, Sarah Bareilles, a couple of these understudies and regular actors. Check it out. Inside, I was only going to talk about it for like 5 minutes, and here I just go on and on about it. Inside Broadway.
It's the famous gay white way, where the night is bright as day. Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's not just a thoroughfare, it's a tingle in the air.
Woo-hoo!
Ain't Broadway grand?
Yes, Broadway is grand, ladies and gentlemen. So is doing this program, Dave's Gone By, every Saturday from 9 until noon-ish or thereabouts. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. If you want to find out more about me, by the way, don't forget that the website for the show is davesgoneby.com, and that I have my own website called davelefkowitz.org, davelefkowitz.org, and that is the place to read my writing, because I'm a writer. I've been a writer for 30-something years. So if you want to read the articles and interviews I've written, dozens over the years, hundreds actually, if you include news stories, plus theater reviews, several hundred, going all the way back to like the late 1980s, are on the website, davelefkowitz.org. My song lyrics, jokes, Rabbi Saul's rabbinical reflections are in there too. It's just basically, if it's non-video and non-audio, you want to read what I've written over the years, go search, and there's more than 1,000 items at davelefkowitz.org, and I hope you will. And by God, if you own a theater company, if you have, you're looking for things to do for a season, if you're doing a virtual theater company, look at some of my plays. I think you might enjoy them and give your audiences a good time. So read some plays and do them, please. All at davelefkowitz.org. Okay, well, it is 12:15 Eastern Time in the Daverhood. We still have our Colorado Limerick of the Damned to do, but we didn't even get to Greeley Crimes and Old Times, and I think we should. So, even though Joyce unfortunately is not with us to do the sound effects, those are on me, let's, maybe we'll just get a little bit criminal. Oh, no, I'm playing the wrong music here. There we go. Yeah. Da-da-da-da, ladies and gentlemen, Greeley Crimes and Old Times here on this Saturday, July 16th, 2022, the 858th episode of Dave's Gone By. So what Greeley Crimes and Old Times is, in case you've somehow forgotten, is 2 columns in a local newspaper in Greeley, Colorado. It is, of course, the Greeley Tribune, real newspaper, despite the headline, that comes out hard copy 4 times a week now and is online, whenever. But aside from all the regular, actual, local, and some national news, there are 2 intentionally comical columns in the Trib. They're based on real things. One of them is phone calls that come into the local police department, and the other is on items that were in the newspaper 100 years ago. We mix them up, and we called it Greeley Crimes in old times. Let me get my all-important noisemaker, though. Let's start with crimes. So these are actual calls that over the past 2 or 3 weeks came into the police department of Greeley and northern Colorado. A caller, kind of a whiny caller, said, a caller near 12th Street said 2 people with flashlights were trying to get into a boat parked on the street. Well, let's just think about this. Let's just take this in. They were trying to break into a boat parked on the street. My question is, how would they make their getaway? Think about it. Or don't. A caller on 6th Avenue. This caller reported a shirtless man outside hallucinating and disturbing people. Nice. One assumes he was hallucinating. That may be the disturbing part. Or maybe he was disturbed himself and he made other people hallucinate. But anyway, all right. Some of these will be funnier, I promise. A caller on 20th Street. Jesus Christ. This caller said that a trainer sent a text checking on a member who had just joined the gym. And the member responded with a nude picture. I wonder if the member showed his member. But, maybe they're saying, hey, this is why I need to use the gym. Or, I don't know. But, I guess, before and after pictures that probably would not go up on the bulletin board of the gym wall. I'm just guessing. I am just guessing. A caller on 52nd Avenue said someone tossed a rock at her garage every time she kept it open. I don't know. Some communities don't have gardens and spaces where you can play horseshoes or you can play cornholing. I figure you stand far enough away, you try and get it through the open door. It's a sport. It's a game. I would let it go. A caller on 23rd Avenue. Bugler's busy this morning. Said a man came out of the bathroom yelling profanities and grabbing his crotch. Okay. Probably did not have a good experience in the bathroom. Generally, if you're a man, you do grab your crotch after you're just finished with the bathroom. You probably waited a little too long to do that. But, yeah, probably don't want to go into the bathroom right after him for various reasons. Let's do this one about an agitated man. An agitated man walking around with a large stick and cursing at people was reported near 11th Avenue. He should really pair up with the disturbed man who was grabbing his crotch and yelling profanities, or maybe the man who was hallucinating and disturbing people. Maybe it's the same guy. Maybe there's just one busy, crazy guy who's going all around Greeley and making people upset. Anywho, let's do one more new times and then we'll get to some old times. A caller on 35th Avenue said, should have had that one go for the bathroom guy. A caller on 35th Avenue said a man wearing all black yelled at an employee and then started blaring his music over a speaker while walking down the aisles. Well, I have to say in this case, considering what we were talking about before, the store owner is lucky. At least this guy isn't shoplifting like 10 million other people are right now. He's just playing music and still shopping. Yeah, he might be blasting a boom box, but at least he will pay for whatever it is he takes off the shelf. So maybe don't be calling the cops so quick. Anywho, let's now go roll the calendar back 100 years to do some old-timey things. These were in the newspaper in northern Colorado back in 1922. A prominent Eaton citizen, Eaton is a town near Greeley, Colorado, a prominent Eaton citizen was found in the Pouga River this week after he tried to cross the river in his car. His car was stuck in the water and the driver was lying on the bank of the river. He was drunk and police found empty whiskey bottles in his car. He was arrested for public drunkenness. Kind of interesting. They make it sound through halfway through this thing that he was found in the river in an overturned car. You're like, oh, yeah. And then it's like arrested for drunkenness. They might want to somehow front load that he wasn't a body floating in the river, or he may have been floating, but he was also going and spitting up whiskey. So, anywho. And interesting that, when you're a prominent Eton citizen, they don't necessarily put your name in the paper to embarrass you, whereas if you were an impoverished hobo, they might. Anyway, here's a headline from, this came out of nowhere just this week, that was in a Twitter feed. Headline from a newspaper back in 1920, and a paper from Wilmington, Delaware. This horse is pastry fiend. Obviously a slow news day. The subheadline is, owner frantic since Dobbin ate donuts and formed violent craving. Animal chases baker's wagon. Wow. So, yeah, back in 1920 in Delaware, that was a thing. You feed a horse some donuts. The sugar, we know sugar is a drug. We know it's kind of addictive. And, you would figure a horse would get hooked on heroin. Kind of makes sense in certain ways. But no, a horse got into donuts in a big, bad way. Hey, the 4th of July. Thank you. 4th of July was a big hit in Greeley 100 years ago, with about 10,000 people taking part in the celebrations. Children ate ice cream and set off cannon crackers, skyrockets, whirligigs, and torpedoes. Police and sheriff's deputies arrested no children, and no one was hurt. The very fact that children were handling torpedoes, let alone skyrockets and, by gosh, whirligigs, they just got really lucky that year, I have to say. Really lucky that, and those cannon crackers, first of all, they do terrible things to your stomach. Oh my God, we have an alert. We have an alert, ladies and gentlemen. It is, unfortunately, I don't have the chickens with me in this downstairs room where I've been since the COVID, but we have a chicken alert. All this means is that it's a story about chickens. Despite the unfavorable wheat crop, in 2 weeks, the farmers of the Nunn area will have their free chicken feast. You can get the free ticket from farmers or from the Greeley Chamber of Commerce. Free chicken feast. I didn't say it was funny. I didn't say this particular item of Greeley Crimes and Old Times was funny. I just said it mentions a chicken, and it did. Let's go elsewhere. Since we were talking about Las Vegas earlier in the Today-Yesterday quiz segment about the original meter maids, we have a story that isn't from Greeley, Colorado, but is coming from Las Vegas, Nevada. Amazon's Alexa might soon replicate the voice of family members, even if they're dead. The capability, sorry, after 3 hours, my mouth doesn't work. The capability was unveiled at Amazon's Re-Mars conference in Las Vegas. Rohit Prasad, the head scientist for Alexa, says the virtual assistant could mimic the person's voice based on less than a minute of an audio recording. These attributes have become even more important during the pandemic, Prasad said. While AI can't eliminate the pain of loss, it can definitely make the memories last. A commercial for the product has a little girl asking Alexa, "Can Grandma finish reading me The Wizard of Oz?" And then Alexa, in dead Grandma's voice, does. This kind of makes me think, hey, Alexa, can you have Warren Buffett say his mother's maiden name and social security number while I call my credit union? It's a thought. It's a thought, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get back to some Greeley crimes, and then we'll table this segment for the week. These are things that were in the paper happening in Greeley, Colorado, just a week or two or three ago. A caller on 10th Street asked if people needed to be concerned about happenings in the area. Apparently, the caller on 10th Street still thinks it was 1969. A trespasser, what was he packing? A trespasser broke into an apartment on 10th Avenue and was sleeping outside on a couch. Okay. Let's parse this. A trespasser broke into the apartment and was sleeping outside on the couch. If you're going to go through the difficulty and the pain and the risk of breaking into an apartment, I would figure the thing that you would most want to do is have a nice, cushy indoor place to sleep. Maybe you don't want to bother the tenant's bed. Maybe that's going a little bit too far for a home invasion. But you could certainly, if there's a couch, you're going to sack out on that, or a nice indoor carpet. Why do you break into a house, then go outside the house? And was the couch already there outside the house? Or did you literally have to struggle and push the couch outside the living room, up through the hallway, out through the door, outside the house, so he could sleep on it under the stars? Questions we will never get the answers to. All right, one more, and then we'll table this. A caller in Greeley. Oops. That is our special noise for the day. The caller said her son texted her to say he was hot and uncomfortable at his father's house. Remember, this is a call coming into the police department. This woman is saying that she got this from her son texting. Not that he was being abused, by the way, or starving, or anything. No, he was just hot and uncomfortable at his father's house. And this is a job for the police. Wow. And now let's do one more. That wasn't that funny. This is better. A caller near 11th Avenue said a scrawny man was snorting drugs off the electrical box. All I can say is, well, I sure hope he got a buzz. And that's Greeley Crimes and Old Times for today, July 16th, 2022.
Mr. Horace Greeley was no fool.
Oh, no, he wasn't.
I'm sure that you'll agree with me that Greeley was no fool.
What he is getting at is that Mr. Greeley was no fool.
Yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi-yi-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi, yippee-yi.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we've done most of the show. And what a show it's been, don't you think? I've talked about God. What haven't I talked about? We talked about COVID. We had our yesterday trivia quiz with our wonderful panelists, Leslie Hoban Blake, watch her, and Charlie Gross on Two on the Aisle, on the Two on the Aisle YouTube channel or Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Also, Vicki Quade, who is doing shows this weekend at the Greenhouse Theater in Chicago. She's doing both Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun? Or, of course, the classic Late Night Catechism. Both are being done at the Greenhouse. 4 different performances just this weekend in Chicago. Thank you to Vicki Quade for all, pitching in sometimes last minute to come in and do our quiz. Wonderful to have her. And thank you to Rabbi Saul Solomon. For more about him, go to his website, shalomdammit.com. Rabbi Saul does sermons. We call them rabbinical reflections. He also did a stage show back in the day off Broadway at the Richmond Shepherd Theater. We recorded it and recorded it very, very well, by the way. My friend Evan Seplow did the recording. And it's it's right there for all to see, and it's still wonderful. Shalom Dammit, an evening with Rabbi Saul Solomon. The link is at his website, shalomdammit.com. You can also watch his hilarious TV show, Shalom Dammit, Rabbi Saul Solomon's Peace, Love, and Acid Reflux Hour. That, too, is available at his website, shalomdammit.com. Check it all out, and check out the Rabbi's Twitter feed at Rabbi Sol Solomon. At Rabbi Sol Solomon. So thank him too for being in the Daverhood this week. Before I send out, and really end the show, let's not forget that we have one more segment. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective, ladies and gentlemen, because Joyce and I lived in Colorado for a bunch of years, I got it into my head, for really no good reason, to write poems about all these different places in Colorado, from big cities to tiny little ghost towns, as many as I could. There are more than 200 of them now. And because they're limericks, they're short 5-line poems, they tend to be rude, nasty, disgusting, tasteless. How's this one? It's barely even PG today. So we don't even have to keep the kids from the room. But we warn you, it is the Colorado Limerick of the damned.
You're the poetry man.
A limerick is a comic verse of 5 lines, in which lines 1, 2, and 5 will end with words that rhyme, and likewise verses 3 and 4 also end with words that rhyme. So this is a limerick.
Rocky Mountain, Colorado, Colorado.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Colorado, we go to this day for our Limerick of Damned, Firestone, Colorado. So I hope you're not tired of this game. No, that's a pun. That's not a limerick. That's very different. Let me tell you a little bit about Firestone, Colorado. It's a statutory town in Weld County, up in northern Colorado, part of the Front Range, the wonderful Front Range. Population of about 16,000 people, so it's pretty big, named for landowner Jacob Firestone and incorporated all the way back in 1908. It's one of those places in Colorado. It's got 35 parks and 12 miles of scenic trails. The one negative item about Firestone, Colorado is in 2017, an untapped gas well blew up a house and killed 2 people with Anadarko, was one of those fracking folks. They settled out of court. So that's Firestone for you. Beautiful Firestone, Colorado. We have, however, a poem about Firestone, our Colorado Limerick of the damned. A church-going lady from Firestone can make all the boys in the choir moan, but if they get fresh, she aims for their flesh and kicks till they sing in a higher tone. Yes, that's our Colorado Limerick of the Damned for this week, Saturday, July 16th, 2022. If you missed all or any of this program, episode 858 of Dave's Gone By, just remember it'll be saved on Facebook as soon as the show's over. Plus, we take the archive, we save it, and we put it with all the other ones on davesgoneby.com. From our very first episode to almost 20 years ago to last week's show, last month's show, shows from 8 to 12 to 15, 19 years ago, all there, and this one will be there too within 24 hours. Just look for it at davesgoneby.com. You can go chronologically. There's a search bar. We also have a separate archive where all our interviews are put. So if you want to hear just the James R. Moore interview, Jim Moore, his interview with Rabbi Sol Solomon, he's our new friend of the Daverhood. Get his book, Don't Miss This. Don't miss it. Get it wherever books are sold. So Jim Moore, if you want to, let's say you know someone who's really interested in photography or in performance art, and you figure, hey, I should share that interview. You don't necessarily have to direct them to the whole show. His interview is there separate, in a separate archive, right at davesgoneby.com. And remember that our archives are also posted in our channel at archive.org, our audio channel at castbox.fm. There's an hour random of Dave's Gone By Tuesday nights from 9:30 to 10:30 on channel 20 on Nassau County Altice Cablevision. And plus we have, did I get everything? Oh, and our YouTube channel too. It's all there. There's a lot of ways. If you want to catch up on stuff that you missed or see stuff again from the whole history of Dave's Gone By. It's easy to do, but the best place to start is this Facebook page and davesgoneby.com. And of course, please tell people about this program. So, it just remains for me to say that I'm Dave Lefkowitz. I'm giving a shout out with love to my darling and adorable wife, Joyce, who will be with us on the next episode of the show. Question is whether that episode will be next week. I'm not sure. I kind of, there's stuff going on that I just need probably a break of a couple of weeks. 2, 3 maybe at the most, before I regroup, recharge, and have some new stuff to tell you, and then come back. Maybe I'll do the show next week. Maybe I'll have a guest. Maybe I won't. Best way to tell, check this Facebook page. Check davesgoneby.com. So, maybe I'll see you next week. Maybe I'll see you in 2, 3, or 4 weeks from now. But until whenever that is, don't miss your days going by. I'm Dave Lefkowitz. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful summer, and we'll see you soon, very soon, in the Daverhood.
Days gone by, days gone by.